Ẹ bá fojú kó eruku ata. Abẹ́rẹ́ ìpadà tó ṣe gbogbo àwọn ọmọ Nàìjíríà. Vamos digo Uruguata. Abẹ́rẹ́ ìpadà tó ṣe gbogbo àwọn ọmọ Nàìjíríà. Vamos digo Uruguata. Abẹ́rẹ́ ìpadà tó ṣe gbogbo àwọn ọmọ Nàìjíríà. Vamos digo Uruguata. Abẹ́rẹ́ ìpadà tó ṣe gbogbo àwọn ọmọ Nàìjíríà. Vamos digo Uruguata. Abẹ́rẹ́ ìpadà tó ṣe gbogbo àwọn ọmọ Nàìjíríà. Vamos digo Uruguata. Abẹ́rẹ́ ìpadà tó ṣe gbogbo àwọn ọmọ Nàìjíríà.
Ọmọ Ìbàràpá lápapọ̀ ẹ̀jẹ̀ adúgbò lọ́wọ́ àti ọmọ Yorùbá lápapọ̀ tilé lóko ẹ̀mí àpọ̀ ẹ̀bá nǹkan mọ́ Adéyẹmọ. Sunday Adéyẹmọ Ìgbòho orúkọ ńlá tí ń jámọ̀ láyà bí ara orúkọ tó ń dẹrù ìbò lórúkọ gan. Ọmọ Yorùbá ẹ má sọ torí pé wòrà a kò lè fojú dé gbogbo láyé títa ríro lọ́dà kọlà wúrà tó máa dán alànà kọjá dandan o. Ọ̀wọ́n irin ní má bẹ̀rẹ̀ wọ̀nà ẹ̀dá kan lè ṣì wá lọ́nà ẹgbẹ́ àtìmọ́ ṣọ̀kan ká lè débi re. Ẹ̀jẹ̀ àjọ gbárùkù ti Sunday Ìgbòho ṣá. Ọmọ Ìgbòho mọ̀rẹ́ nílùú Alágbàdo Òde. Ọmọ atapẹ̀tẹ̀ wọnú omi. Ọmọ lòdèlè lodò sọ̀yà. Ìsọ̀yà òrẹ́ràn bàbá yín láàrin yìí. Omi kò sí náà ń tán sí i lẹ́nu. Ọmọ òkúta mẹ́ta òkè Ìgbòho. Ìkan ṣe yí ní dágàdàbọ̀. Ìkan ní mọ́ rọra. Ìkan tó kù nígbà tí wọ́n mọ̀ Ìgbòho mọ̀rẹ́. Kí ló dé Ìgbòho mọ̀rẹ́ sí? Ọmọ òpópó sanran. Ìgbàgede Ìgbòho sùn wọn láláìsí bẹ̀rẹ̀. Wọ́n ní kó ní bẹ̀rẹ̀ ó máa kó bẹ̀rẹ̀ lọ. Ẹ̀sìn òní bímọ méjì ní Ìgbòho mọ̀rẹ́. Tẹ̀sìn bá bímọ méjì ní Ìgbòho. Á fi kọ̀pọ̀ kó sí. Amúkan yòókù bọ̀ sànyà. Àtúmúyà rẹ̀ tí ò lọ́rọ̀ gbọ́. Á fi ṣẹ̀rù wálé. Wàrà kùdì. Ọmọ onílé ọ̀la. Àwọn àjèjì tó ń ṣe ṣèṣèṣe. Tọ́láwọn oníbomi kó sí mu. Wọ́n láwọn oníbomi sànyà wẹ́sẹ̀. Gbàgbójú gbogbo rí kọ́. Gbogbo wọn náà sáré bomi kó sí mu. Wọ́n sì bomi sànyà wẹ́sẹ̀. Ọmọ abẹ́rẹ́ mẹ́ta òde ayé. Ọ̀kan ṣẹ́, ọ̀kan tẹ̀, ọ̀kan tó kù ní gbogbo ayé ránṣẹ́ kiri. Gbogbo ọmọ Yorùbá Sunday Ìgbòho nílé rẹ̀ láéláé. Torí àbálá lórí kan dá òkúta òṣèṣe fún wọn o. Ìmọ̀ràn lásán ní ti Bàdùwẹ̀. Ó pọ̀ sí gbogbo dòdò láyé yìí. Ó kù díẹ̀ tí kò domi láéláé ìtọ́ nílé domi. Sunday Ìgbòho arógun mákì tó ń jà fẹ́tọ̀ Yorùbá ní ilé tó kó.
No going back. Ìgbòho òòṣà iṣẹ́ rẹ̀ tẹ̀síwájú. Mr. Koiki ẹ ṣé o, àwọn ọmọ ló kí o. Àwọn ọmọ ló kí o. Lágbára Ọlọ́run, a máa délé rí o lórúkọ Jésù. Yorùbá nation.
If you don't allow we Biafrans to go, that zoological republic called Nigeria will be a worse place than Somalia, and today it is happening. And if you have not applied for your Somalian visa, please try and do so. That's a Somali visa. Try and do so as quickly as possible, because the zoo is on the path of destruction, and there is nothing man can do to reverse it. Mark today's date and what I'm telling you. Nigeria will be destroyed beyond human comprehension.
Impediment to Yoruba development. Is the impediment to Yoruba development. Without Nigeria, we won't be where we are. 1960, we were far ahead of South Korea and North Korea. We were far ahead of China even. We had television before France. We had radio before South Africa. Now look at where we are today. I think it's a shame that even any Yoruba man can be talking about restructuring at this point in time. What are we restructuring? This country that is already shot to pieces? I don't think that's what we want. But they are always talking about giving Nigeria a chance. The process of Yoruba with Nigeria has come to an end.
And a very good morning and welcome once again. It is koikimedia live, the 18th day of April 2023. It's just coming up to 10 or probably about 11 minutes past 10 a.m. We probably start a bit early before the Star Radio, and then we have about ample of time to have conversation. Mo kí gbogbo ọmọ Yorùbá káàkiri gbogbo ibi tí ẹ bá ti ń gbọ́ wa tí ẹ ti ń fi ẹ̀mí bá wa lọ nítorí pé lórí platform tiwa it is not for APC, it is not for lórí burúkú PDP, kò ní dá fún PDP, kò ní dá fún APC, kò ní dá fún Labour Party, kò ní dá fún gbogbo wọn pátápátá látòkè délẹ̀ for trying to keep Nigeria together, because these are the same criminals tí wọ́n hold in. And a lot of Yoruba people understand that, you know, the more you say you want to be in Nigeria, can you see the depth? We're going to discuss about that this morning. Ẹlòmíì ò mọ tán pè ní gbèsè, but I'm going to tell you everything you need to know in the ample of time before 11 o'clock, and we probably have a few more hours before I check out and we come back. Ẹ má bínú pa àlè padà wá lálẹ́ àná mọ́, wọ́n ní ara ò kì í ṣe òkúta, òun ni ẹ̀yin ìyá wa máa ń sọ. Mo kí gbogbo ọmọ Yorùbá, màá kọ́kọ́ máa dúpẹ́ fún bàbá wa dáadáa. I get a call all the time and, you know, messages and, and I do reply them back. Mo kí ìyá tó bí mi lọ́mọ, mo kí àwọn ìyàwó mi, mo kí àwọn ọmọ, mo kí gbogbo ọmọ Yorùbá pátápátá. Let me read a message that came to me through a brother here in UK, and these are the kind of messages that I'm sure ọ̀pọ̀lọpọ̀ máa ń gbà. I am koikimedia. Mo ní mi ni máa jẹ́ the last man standing. When people criticize Baba Akintoye, they criticize Igboho àtàwọn tó ń ṣiṣẹ́, I always ask the question, àwọn tó ń criticize yẹn, níbo làwọn wà? Apá bo làwọn jókòó sí? Orí fence wo ló wà? Because, I mean, at least a mọ̀ pé for the last 2 years, Igboho has not been to Nigeria. For the last 2 years, Baba Akintoye has been in Benin Republic. And for one reason alone, because wọ́n náà wọn ò fẹ́ ṣe Nàìjíríà mọ́. That is all the reason. So tí àwọn kan bá wá ní wọ̀ ṣe dáadáa and all these different allegations, I ask the question, position wo gan lẹ́yìn tẹ́ ń sọ̀rọ̀ yẹn wà? Kí ló dé tẹ́yìn náà lọ darapọ̀ mọ́ wọn? It is very easy to sit on the computer and on your bloody WhatsApp and Telegram and talk nonsense. Message to Mobalele, I'm not going to disclose the name of the person. This message was sent to me yesterday, and I'll also tell you the reply that I gave the person as well. Hello, Koiki. Hope you and the family are well. I spoke with some members of our Yoruba self-determination movement recently, including today. As you are probably aware, I am one of the few leaders of our movement that hasn't compromised or changed his mind on the full sovereignty of Yoruba nation. Others have joined some politicians and political parties. My position is ojú kan làdá. There are some allegations being leveled against my dear brother and namesake, Chief Dr. Sunday Igboho. Can you arrange a meeting for both of us, including yourself, to speak on the way forward? These people are trying to poison my mind against both Professor Akintoye and Chief Sunday Igboho. They are very desperate. I want you to take note of that. These people that are trying to poison somebody's mind because he believes in these two individuals, but they are trying not to poison mind the one, just as, the bomb bastard, everyone that is trying to poison your own mind as well. Because if you are going mind in your settled, a lot of you do not know what you want. But one thing is, we will stand firm with Baba Akintoye and Igboho because they are only the two that are working in line with the mission of Baba Awolowo. These people are trying, wọ́n gbìyànjú láti fi ogun oró ìró sínú ọkàn mi against Professor Akintoye and Chief Sunday Igboho, and they are very desperate. Ajagbo wọn, ajangbo wọn wà ní kúnrẹ̀. I'm sure you understand that Yoruba anyway. I'm not very good in that. I have already told them my personal position. I am not the kind of person. Ojú kan làdá tèmi máa ń ní. Please let me know what you think. Thank you. I don't have to tell you the name of the person. I replied the person back with this reply. Àárọ̀ ilé mi ṣe reply wọn and also send message yẹn. Money, yet they all don't have proof to all these allegations. Gbogbo allegation ni wọ́n ní proof sí. But at least a mọ̀ pé gbèsè ti Nàìjíríà proof wà, which I'm going to discuss a little bit this morning. If both professor and chief not doing it right, let them also start from where they have done so far. It is easy for those saying nonsense sitting in their comfort zone, while these two individuals have been kicked out of the home for 2 years. Ọdún méjìlá méjèèjì ló ti lé wọn kúrò ní Nàìjíríà. I am sorry, I don't buy those rubbish, mostly from lazy bastard diaspora. Ẹ̀yin olórí burúkú tẹ̀ ní ṣoríire, ẹ̀yin olóṣì, kò ní dá fún gbogbo yín ni mo sọ, ẹ̀ ní ṣoríire, born bastard. Ẹni bàbá kí tó yóò mọ̀ ṣe àti Ìgbòho, ẹ̀yin born bastard, ẹ̀yin olórí burúkú, especially ẹ̀yin fucking diaspora. Ẹ̀yin wà nínú comfort zone yín pẹ̀lú àwọn family yín, àwọn bàbá méjèèjì yẹn, wọ́n lé wọn kúrò nínú ilé tí wọ́n gbé ní Nàìjíríà nítorí pé wọ́n náà fẹ́ kí òmìnira wà fún Yorùbá. Kò ní dá fún yín, kò dẹ́ ṣe òmìnira lórí burúkú tí ìyá born bastard yẹn tó gbé wá fún yín. Born bastard ní gbogbo yín. Mo ní èmi ni máa pa gbogbo yín lẹ́sẹ̀kẹsẹ̀. Koiki lèmi jẹ́ ẹni ṣoríire. Ẹ̀yin tẹ́ẹ̀lì especially ẹ̀yin tó jọ́kùnrin, àtẹ̀yẹ́ pé àwọn obìnrin wọn born bastard. Àwọn ọkùnrin tó lẹ́pọ̀n. Ẹ lọ ṣe tí bàbá Akíntóyè ṣe, kẹ jáde kẹ declare pé ẹ̀yin náà ẹ fẹ́ máa ṣe irú tí bàbá Akíntóyè ṣe. Ẹ̀yin olùlòṣì, kò ní dá fún gbogbo yín. Especially ẹ̀yin diaspora, ẹ ní kúure ni mo sọ fún yín. Ẹ ní ṣoríire. Ògùn máa wọlé pa yín ni. Tó bá jẹ́ pé bàbá yìí, bàbá tiẹ̀, ìwọ ṣe pé bàbá tiẹ̀ jáde. O ṣe jẹ́ kárí bàbá tiẹ̀, káwo éèjì bàbá tiẹ̀, káwo ibi tí brain bàbá tiẹ̀ wà. Ẹ̀yin olórí burúkú, ẹ̀yin diaspora, fucking bastard. Kò ní dá fún gbogbo yín ni mo sọ láàárọ̀ yìí. Born bastard. Ìpele máa gbà, àwọn alálẹ̀ máa pa yín ni. Tó bá jẹ́ pé bàbá yìí ni bàbá tiẹ̀, ìwọ ṣe pé bàbá tiẹ̀ jáde ká fi compare sí bàbá Akíntóyè. Gbé ẹ̀gbọ́n tiẹ̀ jáde ká fi compare sí Ìgbòho. Born bastard, ẹ̀yin diaspora tẹ́ bá put allegations sí àwọn méjèèjì yẹn, ẹ̀ ní ṣoríire ni mo sọ fún yín. Koiki lèmi jẹ́, mo sọ pé èmi ni máa pa gbogbo yín lórí mídíà, èmi ni máa pa yín. Èmi ni máa pa yín, ẹ máa sa gbogbo tẹ́ bá mọ̀, ẹ wọnú omi lọ kẹ́ sa gbogbo ẹ̀, kò ní ran gbogbo wa, àfi tó bá yẹ pé irọ́ ní Ìgbòho ń pa àti bàbá Akíntóyè. Born bastard ní gbogbo yín ẹ̀ ní ṣoríire. Ibo ni bàbá tí yín wà? Lọ sọ fún bàbá tiẹ̀ tí kò lè fún wa ní pé a fẹ́ Yorùbá nation. Tí bàbá Akíntóyè jáde tó sọ pé àwọn ọmọ ìran aládé ìyà ń jẹ wọ́n, Ìgbòho fi gbogbo tó ní sílẹ̀. Ó fi gbogbo tó ní sílẹ̀. Born bastard ní gbogbo yín diaspora tẹ́ bá put those allegations, ẹ̀ ní ṣoríire ni mo sọ. Màmá tèmi tútù lọ sí Benin Republic láti lọ yọjú wo Ìgbòho, àtọ́ ẹ̀ ní ṣoríire ni mo sọ fún yín. Born bastard. As I speak to you right now, mọ́mísì tèmi tútù lọ sí Benin Republic. Ẹ̀yin olórí burúkú ẹ jókòó sórí social media, ẹ máa comment. Èmi tútù rán màmá tèmi lọ because mọ́mísì mi sọ pé mo ò gbọ́dọ̀ tí táwọn bá gbọ́ pé mo kúrò ní London pé mo lọ sí Benin Republic. She will be very very bitter. Ó tútù gbéra lọ, ó tútù lọ represent mi ní Benin Republic. Ẹ ní kúure ni mo sọ fún yín, ẹ̀yin olóṣì. Born bastard. Ìyá tèmi búra, ó gbéra kúrò ní UK, ó tún lọ sí Benin Republic láti lọ yọjú wo Ìgbòho, láti lọ yọjú wo bàbá Akíntóyè. Ṣé àlàáfíà tẹ̀lé wà? Ẹ̀yin olórí burúkú tẹ̀lé kúrò nínú yàrá yín, ẹ̀ ní ṣoríire ni mo sọ fún yín. Gbogbo especially in diaspora tẹ́ bá ń label allegation yẹn, ẹ̀ ní kúure ni mo sọ fún yín. Koiki ni mo jẹ́, ẹ mórúkọ mi lọ sí anywhere, ẹ sá lọ sí anywhere ṣe kò ní wọlé. Àfi tó bá jẹ́ pé nǹkan mi ni mo ń ṣe lójoojúmọ́. Tó bá jẹ́ pé nǹkan míì ní Ìgbòho gbé dání, tó bá jẹ́ pé nǹkan míì ní bàbá Akíntóyè gbé dání, bẹ́ẹ̀ bá ń sákò ní wọlé sí wa lára. Mo ní àwa mẹ́tẹ̀ẹ̀ta yẹn ṣe la máa pa yín. Mo sọ fún yín pé mi ni last man standing. Mọ́mísì tèmi bí ṣe ń bá yín sọ̀rọ̀, ó tún gbéra, ó ti lọ sí Benin Republic láti lọ yọjú wo Ìgbòho. Mo dẹ̀ ní evidence tó bá yẹ pé fẹ́ fún yín ní kí n fi evidence. Mọ́mísì àwọn tó mọ̀ ẹ̀ ń ṣí èrè, kò ní dá fún gbogbo yín ni mo sọ. Mo ní I am sorry, I don't buy those rubbish, lazy bastard diaspora that cannot even lọ sí Benin Republic. So yóò fẹ́ náwó lọ́wọ́ bàbá Akíntóyè, dẹ̀ fẹ́ náwó lọ́wọ́ Ìgbòho, but ẹ fẹ́ jókòó sínú comfort zone yìí kọ́ máa gbé allegation oríṣiríṣi wá. Born bastard ní gbogbo yín ẹ̀ ní ṣoríire. Born bastard. Money, my mom is on her second visit to check on them, while others are waiting for gossip talk and spread it. I am currently not available now, but when I will let you know. Have a great day. And he replied back and said, good morning, my dear brother. Of course, I don't buy it. If you listen to and read most of my public comment, I have never for a minute doubted the sincerity of either Professor Akintoye or Chief Sunday Igboho, even for a second. Gbogbo ẹ̀yin tẹ́ ti doubt wọn fún seconds ẹ̀ ní sórí ni mo sọ fún yín. Ẹlòmíì ò lè ṣe ìwọ̀nba tí Igboho ti ṣe yẹn ẹ̀ lè ṣe. Ẹ̀ ní sórí ni mo sọ fún yín. Èpè lẹ́ máa gbà láàárọ̀ yìí. I am judging CSI by my own standard as his namesake. Ẹni tí mo dẹ̀ ń sọ yìí, iṣẹ́ táwọn ti ṣe ní UK, ẹlòmíì ò tí ì ṣe. Mo ní criminal ẹ pọ̀ jù nù yín, àyín tẹ́ ń sọ jágbàjàgbà yìí, ẹ ní record. Ẹ mú record tí ń jáde ká fi compare record tèmi. Ẹni tó ń sọ̀rọ̀ yìí, àwọn ti ṣiṣẹ́ dànù ní UK. I'm talking about from the local government. I don't have to give his name. Gbòógì èèyàn ńlá ni ní UK ní bíbá. Ẹ wá fẹ́ máa poison irú àwọn èèyàn bẹ́ẹ̀ láti sọ pé, Igboho mọ́ ṣe lòṣì. We are a kind of people that hate cheating. We are fighting other people's war to save them. Sadly, it is always the same people that later turn against us. That is our spirit. But I still had to ask, Yoruba go warning, or Yoruba anybody. The enemies try to poison my mind many times. I have budged that worries them, and they keep trying harder and harder. These are the kind of messages that is traveling, across, different paths. Mo wà lórí live program. This is later. Mo wà lórí live show. These are the same people that are putting all this kind of different nonsense. So, message them already. Let's go further, and I go into the program this morning. Most of you gbèsè Nigeria, èyí tẹ́ expect the best out of Nigeria. Gbèsè yẹn ló máa pa gbogbo yín, because Nigeria has nothing to offer, and I'll keep telling you. I was looking at the news coming yesterday in terms of gbèsè tí a jẹ àti bá ṣe ń sábìsẹ̀ according to the World Bank. And if you think that is going to go away anytime soon, you are wasting your time. Not even Tinubu can come and Tinubu ti fix ààrẹ. Ó ti fix ààrẹ tó fi wá fix Nigeria. Èyí tẹ́ ẹ̀dá kankan mọ̀. You think Nigeria is going to be fixable? Nigeria is just too late to be fixed. It is time that we let everybody understand that the debt that Nigeria is facing currently right now is huge. And it's very, very huge. Extremely huge. But tí ìsan gbèsè. À ń sọ fún yín lánàá pé there was a young girl ní Ogun State. Ó lọ ta ọmọ ẹ̀ ní 600,000 naira. That is about 655 pounds. 655 pounds is just about almost $600. Ṣé wọ́n lè gbé ọmọ tiẹ̀, ọmọ 18-month-old kó lọ tà? Ṣé o lè gbé ọmọ 18-month-old kó lọ tà ní $600? That is what is happening presently in that messed up contraction you call Nigeria. Once again, a very good morning and welcome to the live transmission as we go into the program. Before I will be joining my sister broadcaster Radio UK. My name is OLAMILEKAN, and this is KOKIMEDIA Live. Nigeria spent 96.3% ní last year revenue to service debt. Màá ṣàlàyé fún ẹ kó lè bá yé ẹ dáadáa torí pé tóyìnbó bá ti pọ̀ jù, it's all part of the crime. Òyìnbó tó sọ títí náà tí ilé ayé gbogbo àwọn ọmọ Nàìjíríà fi di tí ó ti wà ní backward. Rather than telling us the truth, they've been telling us lies. Lies upon lies upon lies. And today, Nigeria debt ratio continue to go up, but there's nothing to show for it. There's nothing wrong if a country takes a loan. Èèyàn lè gba loan. Kò sí kankan tó wrong níbẹ̀. Ẹ má bínú, I'm just being told that there's no sound coming from the mixer. Very, very apology there, and I've already spent few, time. Thank you so much. I just picked that. Bishiru, sorry, I didn't realize that the audio was out on the mixer. Thank you so much. I'm so sorry about that. I'm sure you won't be all upset. The audio is back on the mixer. Scream in Ibibai. I just picked up the message. Thank you so much. My name is OLAMILEKAN once again, and this is KOKIMEDIA Live. Nigeria is at the verge of breakup. In KOKORO ma break it. Whether it is the debt, whether it is it is people, something is going to break up Nigeria. It might not be what you want to hear, and they'll continue to deal with you. David Odoye Twitter account has been suspended because he's been giving information that some people are not comfortable with. I don't buy his own position because he's part of the Labour Party individual. But these are the threats that you will continue to get as Nigerians. some people, powerful people within Nigeria and outside Nigeria, wọ́n fẹ́ kí a rí the light. Ògo tí ẹ̀ ń wá yẹn ẹ̀ lè rí. Ó bá lọ church kan gbàwẹ̀ fún ẹ lójoojúmọ́, irọ́ ló pa, ó lè rí ògo lò nínú Nàìjíríà. Báwo ló ṣe fẹ́ rí ògo lò nígbà tí ìlú owó tó ń pa lójoojúmọ́ for the whole year gbèsè lọ fi ń san? Ìwọ wá sọ pé o fẹ́ rí ògo lò, ibo ló ti fẹ́ rí ògo ẹ lò? Mo sọ fún yín pé ẹ lè rí ògo yín lò nínú Nàìjíríà until we get the hell out of Nigeria. Ẹ lè rí ògo yẹn lò because ògo Nàìjíríà ó ti kúrò pátápátá. And this is why we are saying to our people, ṣé bẹ́ẹ̀ ṣe fẹ́ máa bá lọ lélẹ̀? Some say I should keep quiet. We are going to make Nigeria to work. You cannot make Nigeria to work. It is just too late. Ripple metrics, for every 100 naira tó bá ń pa ní Nigeria, Nigeria spent 82 naira ní 2020 ọdẹ. Gbọ́ mi dáadáa, tó bá pa 100 naira, for every 100 naira tó bá pa nínú Nigeria, 82 naira nínú ẹ̀ ni wọ́n fi ń san gbèsè. Èló ló wá kù? Ìwọ máa calculate. At least how about they understand? Yeah, practical. I love doing practical on this program. At least mo ṣì lówó shit o yẹn lọ́wọ́ díẹ̀ nínú studio mi ní bíbá. This ilé ìtẹ̀ ti pọ̀ jù, kí ni mo lọ́ mú 500 jáde fún 100 naira la need. So ẹ jẹ́ ọmọ 100 naira wá. So I have 100 naira. Mo kí gbogbo alẹ́ nǹkan sí and welcome to the live transmission. 100 naira lélẹ̀ tí wọ́n fi orí bàbá wa Awólọ́wọ̀ sí. You can see right in front of me there. This is 100 naira. Now, for every 100 naira for every 100 naira earn, tí Nàìjíríà bá make 100 naira, wọ́n yọ 82 kúrò nínú ẹ̀, òun la fi ń sábìsì gbèsè. Àìtí san gbèsè gangan o. Àìtí san gbèsè. Intaṣe ń san ní debtor. So the question is, ṣé bẹ́ẹ̀ ṣe fẹ́ bá lọ lélẹ̀? So let's look at the revenue quickly. This article was 2021, but this one here from Channel is just yesterday. So we're going to go into it bit by bit. Let's go first to 2021. Nigeria's growing debt servicing. We are making the oil revenue. In 2020, we actually made 1.34 trillion naira. Non-oil revenue in 2020, we made 1.14 trillion. In 2019, we made 1.37 trillion. So rather than pé kó lọ sókè, tẹ́ bá wo graph yẹn ó drop padà di 2020. Let's even start from 2016 when this bloody Buhari came in and destroyed, the economy more than anything you can think of. In 2016, the oil revenue was 697.8 billion. Okay? Then the non-oil revenue is 818 billion. It went up because the crude oil consumption in the world went up. That literally means that we were making more money going to 2017. So in 2017, we had 1.12 trillion naira made in 2017. In the non-oil revenue, we actually made 956 billion. Nígbà tó di 2018, the output of the crude oil was very, very important because there's, kò tí sí all these ogun ò tí dé nígbà yẹn, because the Ukraine war also injected more crude oil to be needed around the world. And let me tell you the reason why they need crude oil. Sórí gbogbo military aircraft tó move káàkiri gbogbo àgbáyé, kò ń ṣomi ló ń gbé sínú ẹ̀. Wọ́n need epo, and every fight around the world, they will need extra crude oil láti pump sáwọn ìlú tó ti ń jagun yẹn, because ẹ lè máa move tank tó ń jà tó fight. You need to put diesel inside it. You need to put fuel inside it. Àwọn kìíní yẹn, they move with fuel. They don't. And also for production, especially China, India, and àwọn ìlú yẹn. I've talked about that. If you remember our graphs that we normally use on the OCE. India and Laura, the major share of our crude oil at about almost something blah blah blah. Let's say. If you look at the crude oil consumption around the world from Nigeria, India, Laura, you can see there, India takes about 19.4%, which value at about $8 billion. That is a huge amount of crude oil. But if you go and look at India today, you realize that there's a lot of production going there. And to study our designer, they are moving their outfits into India. I'm talking about all these brand designers and all that. So I'm sure you all know that Indian is moving very fast. So one need a lot of crude oil. Àwọn ní púpọ̀. So wọ́n gbọ́dọ̀ máa rà níta and they're buying a lot from Nigeria. Why you idiot in Nigeria does not understand that you will never get a job. But you are wàá lọ sí Indian. Wàá lọ máa ṣe iṣẹ́ ọmọ ọ̀dọ̀ ní Indian. We have a lot of Nigerians there, Yoruba, Igbo. I'm not sure whether the other ethnic groups are there, but I'm sure that the Yorubas are living in India and there's so much Igbo people as well there. Let's come back. In 2019, it went up again at about 1.37 trillion. The revenue we were making and the non-oil revenue we were making 1.58 trillion. You would then expect, it actually dropped in 2020 to 1.34 trillion. The question we should ask ourselves is, kí ló dé tó ṣe drop in 2020 tí kò lọ sókè? Is because a lot of other issues and factors that is affecting it, which could be, the stolen crude oil, and also many things like that. Because revenue statistics of I can bet my life that there are some other countries within this. I don't have the evidence, but we know based on Nigeria as a corrupt country that there will be some countries that are also getting our crude oil and they are not paying for it. This one goes through the back door. But the one that we are told is what we have here, and the biggest after India is Spain. Spain is buying about 12.9% of our crude oil, which is about almost $5.33 billion. Then it goes to other countries and other countries and other countries like that. Now, let's read this article before we now talk about the 2022. This is about 2020 article. This was published about 2 years ago. In 2020, Nigeria spent 3.2 trillion naira paying its debt. Basic. We spent 3.2 trillion naira. The Minister of Finance, Zainab Ahmed, disclosed this during a public presentation of the 2021 federal government approved budget on Tuesday. According to the data, let's increase that a little bit, the front. According to the data from the presentation, the federal government retained revenue was 3.94 trillion, which is about 27% shortfall of the 536 trillion proposed budget target. Out of which oil revenue generates 1.52 trillion. So just to break it down, to understand, we are not making enough money láti fi fund the budget in Nigeria. So tí Buhari bá lọ present budget fún Senate, pé budget in Nigeria, let's look at the Nigerian budget for this year. Wàá máa gbọ́ tó máa sọ pé we cannot fund our budget because reason to actually fund the budget yẹn ni pé we don't have the money. So if you look at this, President Muhammadu Buhari on Tuesday, which is some few months back, signed the 2023 budget. Budget ló máa fi determine pé ìwọ olórí burúkú tó ń sọ pé bàbá kí tó yóò ṣe dáadáa pé tí o bá dé hospital wọ́n máa treat ẹ because wọ́n lè treat ẹ because Nigeria does not have the money to look after you. Bàbá kí tó yóò sọ pé Nigeria is too big, let's break it down, let's go our separate way so that a lè tọ́jú ẹ and you will not be able to sell your own baby like this bomb bastard ọmọ 33 years old táwọn sọ pé ìyá ló máa pa gbogbo yín kú. 33 years old sold a child, Ogun State. Let's see if that article can come on. So if you look at this headline, this was yesterday. 33-year-old now for selling a baby on Tamonwe because Nigeria ò lè support ọmọ yẹn. Actually, ó ti lọ gbàwó lápò according to what I heard from the story. Ó ti gbàwó lọ́wọ́ microfinance àwọn olórí burúkú tó yẹ pé APR one is about almost 30%. Wàá gba 1,000 naira lọ́wọ́ wọn by the time tó bá máa fi sanwó yẹn tó wàá máa san 10,000 naira. And tó bá sanwó yẹn wọ́n máa threaten life ẹ̀. So let's read about this story. This happened not in Yoruba, not in the southeast. This ṣé àwọn ọmọ Igbo tẹ máa ń complain fún ṣáwọn lọ ra ọmọ lọ́wọ́ ọmọ yìí ṣé ọmọ Yorùbá ló rà? I don't have the proof, but we know that Lagos State ló tà sí. Let's read this quickly as well. According to operatives of Ogun State Police Command, have arrested a 33-year-old woman, Olaide Adekunle, for selling her 18-month-old baby for 600,000 naira to a yet-to-be-identified buyer. Ẹni tó rà gan àìtí mọ̀, bomb bastard di gbogbo yín. bàbá Akíntóyè wá ń pariwo pé ṣé ó dáa kí ọmọ Yorùbá máa jìyà láti lọ ta wọn nú ẹ̀ ẹ̀yin wá ní bàbá Akíntóyè ò mọ̀ ṣe kò ní dá fún gbogbo yín pátápátá ògùn lákàyè máa wọlé pààyàn ni. Ìgbòho sọ pé ṣé bí ayé ṣe máa rí leléyìí tí ọmọ 33 years old I'm sure pé tó bá jẹ́ pé ìyàn kan tẹ́ sọ pé ẹgbẹ́ kò wá sórí social media tó bá wá sórí social media I'm sure they will raise that money even though a lot of people are tired of spending this kind of money. But because kò gbé ara ẹ̀ wá sórí social media, I'm sure people will have paid for 600,000. Ẹni tó ta ọmọ yẹn fún nísìn àmọ́ níbo lọmọ yẹn wà àmọ́ ọmọ tó lè jẹ́ pé òun ni ògólẹ̀ Yorùbá òun ló ti tàdánù ní 600,000. Ẹ̀yin lórí burúkú wọn sọ pé bàbá Akíntóyè mọ̀ ṣe kò ní ta fún gbogbo ẹni mo sọ. Ẹ̀yin máa lè born bastard. Ó ta ọmọ nú ẹ̀ if you don't know what is 600,000 that is about less than 700 pounds owó British money. That is less than $600 owó US money. Ẹni tó tà fún àmọ́, the suspect was arrested following a complaint lodged at Sango Division headquarters by the woman husband. Tó bá jẹ́ pọ́kọ woman yẹn ní owó lọ́wọ́ ni, tó jẹ́ kí ìyàwó ẹ̀ lọ ta ọmọ, ṣebí inú ìṣẹ́ kan náà ni gbogbo yín wà. The reason for that is because the debt tí gbèsè tó wà lórí Nàìjíríà kò lè wálẹ̀. And this is gonna be the ripple effect. Mo sọ fún yín pé ẹ máa jẹra yín lẹ́sẹ̀ ẹ máa para yín ni. Èmi ni mo sọ bẹ́ẹ̀. Ẹ para yín until tí ẹ máa fi gbọ́ pé sẹ́ Nigeria is not going to work anytime soon. It is not planned to work. It was never designed to work. Àwọn olórí burúkú tó gbé unification yẹn wá. Mo sọ meaning unification fún yín. The meaning of unification is something that needs to be unbundled. Kí ló ń pè ní
unification?
Ìdí tí ọmọ ìṣe lọ ta ọmọ ẹ ni pé there was a
unification
between us and the north and the south. Ṣé ọmọ Ìgbò lẹ́kọ̀ọ́ náà ló ra ọmọ lọ́wọ́ ẹ̀ ẹ̀yọ́ lórí burúkú born bastard? A máa sọ fún yín pé Nàìjíríà ò ṣiṣẹ́ ẹ̀ ń sọ pé Nàìjíríà ń ṣiṣẹ́. Nigeria will never work and it is never designed to work. Now mo fẹ́ lọ mójú ọmọ yẹn wá. I think there should be another àwa náà ní lórí article wa. Let's see this one. Ọmọ náà lélẹ̀. Ẹ wo ọmọ Yorùbá tí bàbá Akíntóyè nítorí ẹ̀jà. Ẹ wo ọmọ Yorùbá tí bàbá Ìgbòho nítorí ẹ̀jà. Ẹ wo ọmọ Yorùbá tí gbogbo ọmọ Yorùbá tó sọ pé ṣé àní àlè accept kí ọmọ máa lọ ta ọmọ ẹ̀. Èlò áwòdì gan lélẹ̀ 33 years old. Ṣé ìwọ lè jẹ́ kí ọmọ grandchild ẹ kó tà ní UK for 600 pounds? And this is the current situation. Ẹ wo ojú ẹ̀ bó ṣe rí. It's not a fault. But at the end of the day, I'm sure pé olórí burúkú eléyìí náà ní sè á lọ dìbò fún APC. A máa sọ pé Yorùbá nation, I no wan understand, but kò lè understand bó ó mọ bí ó ṣe lè bímọ tó wọn àtọkọ ẹ ṣe kíbọ̀rọ̀ kì nínú yàrá. Ó wá bímọ yẹn tán ní sè ó lọ ta ọmọ yẹn ní 600,000 naira. This is happening in Yoruba land in 2023. And for those of you kò concern yín rárá, ẹ ní human feeling, ẹ ní human passion. Ọmọ yẹn nísìn a lè sọ pé bíláì ló wà bí wọ́n ti fi gbọ́n ṣe ni bí wọ́n ti ta lọ sí another African country who knows níbi tí ọmọ yẹn wà nísìn ẹ wá ní kí Olódùmarè kó ṣàánú yín kò lè ṣàánú yín because ẹ̀yin kò ń ṣàánú ara yín. Mo sọ fún yín pé wí ẹ̀rọ yẹn ẹ̀rí pé kò wọ bra gan ṣẹlẹ̀ bá ẹ̀rí kó kọyàn because kò lè ra bra kò lè ra second hand bra ẹ̀wòrán born bastard. This is the society that we are living. Ẹ wá aṣọ ọrùn ẹ̀ nísìn àmì ṣọ́ọ̀pù bọ́s kọ́nà àbáwọn ọmọ Ìgbò kó wá láti Benin Republic lówó yẹn. And this is the situation. She's only 33 years old. I cannot blame her that much, but we can still blame them because these are the bomb bastards that are not listening to us when we are telling you that the bleeding Nigeria will continue to bleed. And the whole police structure, Timo Kalanu mo sọ fún yín, the spokesman, Abimbola Oyeyemi ọmọ Yorùbá, the next two officers tó dárúkọ, they are from the north. They are not Yorubas, and this is all happening. Meanwhile, the acting commissioner, Hausa Fulani, Babakuru Muhammad. The other one there, I think, DSP, DSP Dahiru Sali is another Fulani Hausa, and you expect Nigeria to work? You must be crazy. Why my son died, Dapo Abiodun. Ẹ ti fi ìjà tí fọ́tí fọ́mọ ẹjọ́ ògùn ni kò get out. Gbogbo yín lẹ́ti fọmọ yín jògùn why my son die. Dáadáa àwọn lẹ́fẹ̀ẹ́ máa kíbọ̀dọ̀ kì. Ẹ̀ràn tí pé òun náà lose ọmọ ẹ̀ kan. Wọ́n ti fa àwọn ọmọ wọn ṣẹ́ṣọ́. These are born bastard Yoruba people. Àwọn kíá, that's what they all do. But ìyẹn kọ́ là ń bá lọ. Now, you are expecting Nigeria to work. But Nigeria doesn't have the money to fund their budget. Budget, they must be able to pay for your school, education sector, the healthcare sector, the security of the country. Inú owó tí Nigeria bá pa ló yẹ kó máa fi ṣe, but Nàìjíríà ló ń yá owó láti fi run láti fi fund the budget, and that is why we are where we are today. That is why we are where we are today, because Nigeria is not designed. That unification here, if we do not divide, if we do not allow Nigeria to go on its own, then Nigerians will have to suffer more before the breakup of the country. It will eventually break. If all of it break, I don't know when it's going to break. That I will leave to every one of us to make sure it breaks. But if you say, let's continue as it is, no problem. Even Tinubu pẹ̀lú gbogbo owó tó ní kò lè gba treatment nínú Nigeria. Ó sá lọ sí Paris. Kọ́lọ̀ fún lálàáfíà. He's currently hiding somewhere in Paris. Kò lè lọ sí Mecca. Bìkìbẹ́ tó bá ní strength tó máa lọ sí Mecca. Ìbọn sọ pé ó máa lọ sí Mecca ní kó máa lọ gbàdúrà fọ́lọ́run. Kò lè kúrò ní Paris because wọ́n sì láti fún ní àwọn oríṣiríṣi injection. Wọ́n gbọ́dọ̀ fi oríṣiríṣi nǹkan sí lára, and all these things doesn't work very fast. Ìtọ́ máa fi síyàn lára, ó máa ṣe díẹ̀díẹ̀ ni. Àwọn dókítà yẹn ò ní ṣe ní pẹ́rápárá. Pẹ̀lú gbogbo owó tó ní, kò lè tọ́jú ara rẹ̀ nínú Nàìjíríà. Ìwọ tó wà lówó lọ́wọ́, then you will be the next victim like this. Ẹ commit suicide, ẹ jábọ́ sórí bridge. Àwọn máa fi ń ṣe story ní bíbá. 33 years old. Ó ta ọmọ ẹ̀ ní Nàìjíríà ní Ogun State for 600,000 naira. Ẹni tó ta ọmọ yẹn fún òun gan náà wò recognize ẹ̀ kò mọ̀. Kò ní nọ́mbà lọ́wọ́, ó ní wọ́n kọ̀ connect òun ni. Ẹ wojú ẹ̀bẹ̀ ẹni tó ń fagbó. And these are the situations that our people are currently facing in that bloody country called Nigeria. Now, let's come back again quickly. So, 673 billion was made from company income tax. Owó tí àwọn company sọ fún federal government tó ń pè ní VAT, value added tax. Gbogbo owó yẹn náà tó bá gbàjọ kò ràn problem tó wà nílẹ̀. And if you look at all these graphs, we'll be talking about them later because I need to start preparing for Star Radio UK because I only got about 15 minutes. By implication, going by the 3.2 trillion debt service, which is about 82% of the retained revenue, nínú 3.9, àti san 3.2 million for debt in 2020. So for every 100 naira tí federal government make, ó san 82 naira láti máa fi service debt. One service ẹni o àìtí sanjú owó gangan o. Just look at it pé ó yá 100 naira lọ́wọ́ mi, ó ti wá di 1,000. Ó mọ̀ pé 1,000 yẹn, nínú 1,000 yẹn, ó gbọ́dọ̀ máa san 1,000 yẹn, ó máa san nínú ẹ̀. Tí o máa lè fi san owó yẹn débi tí màá ṣẹ̀wá 100 naira mi. But the more tó o bá san, the more the interest keeps going. So the interest yẹn ló ń gorí debt yẹn, ó ń gorí ẹ̀. Some people will ask that, tábà break up, how do we sort out all this loan? UK also came out of BRICS exit. Wọ́n yìnbọn fúnra wọn, ọ̀pára wọn. There was a referendum. Gbogbo gbèsè tó bá ní láàrin ara wọn, wọ́n máa yanjú ẹ̀, wọ́n máa fún tolúkálukú. But if you say you want to remain in Nigeria, you will sell your own self. Wàá máa fi abẹ́, wàá máa fi gbowó, wàá máa ṣe yahoo, ẹ máa wá pant, ẹ máa wá bra, ẹ máa wá oríṣiríṣi nǹkan just to inject so that then you can be able to fund a kind of a lifestyle. Ẹ máa jẹra yín lẹ́sẹ̀ ni. Last week was when they killed a man as well in Ekiti State. Ó lọ gba 10 million nínú account nínú Ekiti ní bank. By the time tó máa fi rin bí a few meters away from the bank, ọ̀pá. And this is going on a daily basis. So let's move quickly to this now. Nigeria in 2022, 2 years after, you will expect that the country will pick up. You will expect that something will work, but it cannot work because Nigeria was never designed to work. Nigeria is now at the verge of breakup. It will break up because the economy gonna break ìlú. You might say that our economy break it, fair enough, but the economy as well will break the country because ẹ máa ní àwọn tó máa yìnbọn pa yín ní ojú ẹgbẹ́ máa ń rí gbogbo ẹ̀ tó máa ní àwọn ọmọ kan jáde ní orí Lagos Third Mainland Bridge nínú traffic. Give me your phone jàre bomb bastard. Tó bá fún àfìbọn fún orí ẹ̀. You will get more crime. Ìlú tí kò bá sí any kind of support, any service around you, there will be crime. And some of those crimes, you might be, or it might be me, it could be anybody. According to the report, Nigeria's fiscal position deteriorated in 2022, leaving the cost of petrol subsidy to increase from 0.7% to 2.3% of the GDP. The World Bank, they want Nigeria to remain, and they continue to give us this loan. They give us this loan, and we are all trapped. Every one of us is trapped as Nigerians, whether you are outside Nigeria. Hey, Koiki, see if you come in, but your family continue to pasteurize you, and what about our school? Ìwọ ló fẹ́ sanwó school, ìwọ ló máa sanwó JAMB. I don't even know why people are going to do more education, because ẹ kàn lọ sí JAMB ẹ kàn fún àwọn bomb bastard yẹn lówó ni. Because by the time you finish from your university, you don't have any job. You don't have any job. So the World Bank says Nigeria spent 96.3% of its 2022 revenue on servicing its debt. Nínú 100%, àwa fi 96.3% àfi service debt, àfi service gbèsè, and you expect Nigeria to work. No be juju be that. Let's go further quickly. This was contained in the macro poverty outlook for Nigeria April 2023 brief released by the International Financial Institution. According to the report, Nigeria's fiscal position deteriorated in 2022, leaving the cost of the petrol subsidy to increase from 0.7% to 2.3% of the gross domestic product, which is the GDP. Subsidy, kí ló mean by that? Àwọn kan ló ń jẹ́wọ́ subsidy yẹn. Wọ́n dẹ̀ sọ pé tó bá yọ subsidy yẹn kúrò, it put Nigerians into more abject poverty. And tó bá dẹ̀ mọ̀ tó ń pè ní abject poverty, maybe I should just help you a little bit. When it says something is abject poverty poverty burúkú ni, poverty tí ó máa ta ọmọ ẹ tó máa ta bàbá ẹ gan sẹ, òun ló ń pè bẹ́ẹ̀. Kí ni meaning abject poverty? When we say something is abject poverty, the terms abject means the most miserable, humiliating. Kò wọ́n ọmọ ilé òótọ́ kó ta ọmọ ẹ̀, but ó ti dé ojú kókó, kò rí support. Bí ó gbé ìsàlẹ̀ gan sílẹ̀ gan sẹ̀ kò make owó, because wá ti gbá sí fún ìsàlẹ̀ yẹn á ti fẹ́ lá. And at the end of the day, ọmọ ṣe lọ́mọ lọ́wọ́, ó yá fún mi lọ́mọ ẹ̀ kí n fún ẹ 600,000. Òwá dẹ̀ máa kó òwá kúkú bímọ mi. But ọkọ ẹ̀ wá ń bèrè pé bá ibo ló gbọ́mọ mi sí? Ibi tí story yẹn ti jáde nìyẹn. If not, nobody would have known. Mélòó bẹ́ẹ̀. Do you know how many of that is going like that on a daily basis in that bloody nonsense country called Nigeria? And the whole reason for that is because every single one of you, mo sọ pé tó o bá ti ní 2,000 naira láti fi jẹun ní Monday to Sunday, you are also part of the people I'm talking to. It does not matter whether you even believe in Yoruba nation. Tó o bá, I'm not talking about owó tó fi ra internet. I'm not talking about owó tó máa fi jẹun every day. Àárọ̀ ọ̀sán alẹ́ o gbọ́dọ̀ ní 2,000. Kò jẹ́ pé 2,000 láàárọ̀ tó tọ̀. No, you must have at least 2,000 naira. Tó o bá ti lè ní 2,000 naira tó máa fi jẹun lójoojúmọ́, forget it. You are also abject poverty refers to those living in a worst condition imaginable. Those suffering abject poverty are often faced with finding enough food to eat, clean water to drink, and a warm and a dry place to sleep. Ìyẹn lẹ ṣe ń wò bẹ́ẹ̀ ni tó sick. Oh, sorry, gan. I keep telling you, you all look like people that are sick. Each time, Timothy Wale from 2015, I've never been happy because the way I look at you is like somebody that have HIV. What are the 4 types of poverty? According to our psychologists, differentiate between the 4 types. There's what I call the absolute poverty, relative poverty, subjective poverty, and the social exclusion. The reason for that is your bloody hell country called Nigeria cannot be able to look after you because they don't have the money. These has kept the public debt stock at about 38%. At about 38%. Mokibu Wale and Conceal, a very good morning. This has kept us at about 38%. This has kept us at 38%. More on live show, load up. This has kept the public debt at about 38% of the GDP. It has now pushed the debt services to revenue ratio from 83.2% in 2021. Kàkà kó tún drop wá sílẹ̀ láti 83.2%. Those that don't understand all this, at least o ṣàmọ̀ pé yà ń jẹ ní Nàìjíríà. Tó bá ti lè understand pé yà ń jẹ, o ní láti understand gbogbo stock yẹn lọ sókè, o lọ sílẹ̀ and all that. Ìwọ máa kọrin Davido káàkiri timeless, okay? But you are also living in poverty. Ẹ kàn try láti make ara yín happy. You cannot make yourself happy by going to watch the video concert. Ìyẹn ṣe pé wà happy. You must be happy that you can walk from ojú ẹlẹ́gba lọ sí Òṣòdì tí wọ́n dẹ̀ ní àràsẹ̀ ìtàn pè ní happiness nìyẹn. Yes, o lè lọ wo Davido show tó fẹ́ fi lọ pàrọ̀rù rẹ̀ is a lie. You are living in denial. This has kept the public debt at over 38% of the GDP and has pushed the debt service to a revenue ratio from 83.2% in 2021 to 96.3% in 2022. So rather than going down, it actually went up. The fiscal deficit was estimated at about 5.0% of the GDP in 2022, breaching the stipulated limit for the federal fiscal deficit of 3%. Àwọn tó wà nínú economics ló máa understand gbogbo ilé, but at least in tó important níbẹ̀ ni pé the oil price booms have previously supported the country economy, but this has changed since 2021. The cause for this, according to the World Bank, was the macroeconomic stability weakening amidst declined oil production, costly fuel subsidies, exchange rate distortion, and the monetization of the fiscal deficit. In 2022, the oil revenues and the fiscal deficit outrun the forex. We do not even have enough money in our forex anymore. So all these, in a layman, is also the cause of the next video I'm going to start playing while I prepare, my site for the, Star Radio UK, which is just, as you can see there, my colleagues is already, getting ready and I've not posted. So, but before that, we just give you this to listen to while then I come back and then we switch to Star Radio UK. Chinese deny funding terrorism to access Nigeria. We watched this yesterday. Let's watch it now because Eko Bola on the video.
Over that continent. What are you going to tell me?
I'm going to tell you why all of these countries are so keen to be in Africa and to court African leaders. And I'm going to tell you about my little Twitter spat with the son of one of the presidents. And I'm going to tell you what happened to my luggage on Air France.
Lindsay, we've seen a number of big diplomatic trips recently to the continent of Africa. We've seen both the Turkish and the Chinese foreign ministers go. We've seen on the American side, Antony Blinken, Janet Yellen, Jill Biden, and now recently Kamala Harris go. And we've also seen Sergei Lavrov, the Russian foreign minister, go. What's going on? Why all of a sudden is everyone obsessed with the continent of Africa?
And that's what African leaders are asking themselves, and they're delighted. There they are, being courted like the most beautiful woman in the world. And you look at Qin Gang, he's the new Chinese foreign minister. He went to Africa in January. That was the first trip he made. Sergei Lavrov, I think he might, be buying a house somewhere because he's been to 7 African countries this year. And then there's Kamala Harris, who's the most recent. And she was playing catch-up. She went to 3 countries. I think it's a number of different things, but the main thing is Ukraine. It's because Africa has 54 votes at the UN, and the Americans, the Europeans, want those votes for condemning Russia. Russia wants those votes on its side. And the African countries playing pretty hard to get. Most of them have abstained in these votes, and they are not willing to go on the Western side and condemn Russia. They're hedging their bets because they know that they're wanted.
Now, the reason why partly African nations won't immediately side with the West when it comes to the Ukraine war is to do with history and the scramble for Africa. Europeans began arriving in Africa from the 15th century. But in 1884, the major European powers met to essentially carve up the continent between them, ensuring that they all had territory and also to avoid any war between the rival nations. This was the Age of Empire. After the Second World War, African nations began to fight for their independence against European colonial rule. And because these powers were often on the side of the Americans, the Soviet Union aided many freedom movements across the country. The Cold War saw the East and West fight over Africa, and one could argue that those memories still last today. And indeed, the present battles that we're talking about today over who has the most impact and influence on the continent mirrors, in some ways, the old battles of the past. And we have discussed that before on the podcast, but I mean, that has to do partly with the history of Africa, colonialism, the Cold War, in terms of why some African nations won't necessarily want to side with the West and Ukraine.
Yes, that's true. But also Russia is making this big push at the moment in Africa. They are actively going out there. And it comes at a time when, we talk about Africa as if it's one place. Of course, there are many different countries, and within African countries you have governments, you have civil society, you have business people, and people have a different perspective. But broadly speaking, whereas Western governments are very keen on spreading democracy and human rights, and many African governments would say lecturing them about human rights and the environment and so on, and they would say unjustly, particularly if they're former colonial powers like France or Britain. The Russians and the Chinese are in there courting the votes, and also particularly with the Chinese, a lot of trade, a lot of investment and so on. So there's a huge push at the moment, and African countries are very open to it.
Looking at Russia, China, as you say, and then also we are going to mention Turkey, who also have involvement within the continent. Is that because all those countries in their own way, whatever they're doing, see the continent as offering the opposite of what the West is doing? As you say, human rights, democracy. They say, well, actually, there's a different way of a different global order that there could be. Definitely,
because British leaders and, the American president, they quite often say Russia is isolated. This is not true. Russia may be isolated when it comes to Europe and the Western world. It is not isolated in the global south. And so what have we seen in Africa in the last few months? We've seen naval exercises by Russia and China and South Africa off the South African coast. So that doesn't look very isolated, does it? And we've seen an increasing amount of Russian information or propaganda, which is available in Africa. So let's take Uganda. Uganda is a really interesting example. So President Museveni came into power in 1986. He's been there a long time. And he was initially seen as quite pro-Western and was certainly, backed by the West, got a lot of Western aid. And he has, over the years, I think, become more impatient with the West and not happy with what the West has said, not least because he has not been as democratic as he initially indicated he was going to be. I mean, he's still in power. He's been there a long time. And he's grooming his son. He's very senior in the army, who's a kind of YޮՐՈՒԲÁ, possibly to succeed him. So what do the Russians do? The Russians went in to see senior people in the government, including the Russian cultural attaché, whose name you will be glad to know is Mr. Kalashnikov. And they went in and said, look, there's these attack helicopters which we're providing to you, and Russia provides 50% of the arms to Africa in general. And, we'd like to put some stuff on your television, Russia Today, that kind of thing. And the Ugandans were fine with that. So the Russian narrative about Ukraine is very strong in Uganda. It has had a big impact. And, the Ugandans are quite happy with that. And then Muhuzi, the son, I mean, he and I follow each other on Twitter, and I sent him a message. This was quite a while back now. I sent him a message because he'd done a tweet which said, Uganda is a Christian country, Russia is a Christian country, Christian countries don't invade each other, we should support Russia. And so I messaged him, I said, well, hang on, Ukraine's a Christian country too, and Russia invaded Ukraine. That's a bit puzzling, isn't it? And then we had a little exchange where he told me how wrong I was. And then all of his supporters piled in and told me I had no right to have an opinion because I come from an old colonial country. So I backed off. But the point is that this Russian narrative is very popular and it's out there. And now I see that Museveni is going to the Russia-Africa summit in St. Petersburg, which is in July. He made a speech where he said how strong relations with Russia had been over the years. They had only had a small gap after the Soviet Union fell apart under Gorbachev. In other words, at the point when the West was very in there. Other than that, he said, our relationship goes back 100 years. It's a marvelous thing. So you can see how the information war, I would say at the moment, Russia is winning it.
Since the war in Ukraine began, many African nations have officially remained neutral. At the UN General Assembly vote on March the 2nd last year, so that's just after the war began, 17 African nations abstained from condemning Russia's invasion. 8 didn't vote.
Jamie Force. Okay, here we have our lion joining us pretty short. Where we'll be going, it's 11 o'clock, where we'll be going to Nigeria. Yourself to set up priorities for next 3 years. That is the new Scottish leader. We're waiting for Olayemi to join us pretty shortly. We can get his image. We can get family of killed boy cannot forgive police inaction. That's what the officers faces prosecution over death scene images. That's what we have been told. That's what we have been told as well. Who is going to the coronation and who isn't? I am sure I am not going. So have you been invited? Is Harry going or not? Right. Olami, we still can't get your image. We can't get your image. Olami, are you there? Okay, let me see if I can pick him again. Let's see if we can get the image this time. Yes, I think we're getting the image this time. Let's see, but the background is still not clear. Let's see. Here, come on. All right.
And one African country, Eritrea, voted against the resolution. 28 African nations voted to condemn Russia. Then, in February this year, almost a year later, a UN resolution calling on Russia to immediately withdraw its troops from Ukraine, 15 African nations abstained from voting once again, with Mali and Eritrea voting against. And also, interestingly, at the same time, Uganda is in America's bad books because they were very vocal about the new anti-LGBT laws in Uganda.
Now, that is also interesting because those LGBTQ issues, so that has come up over the last, 20 years as a big issue in Africa. And I once had, this was long ago, 20 years ago, a conversation with Museveni about it. And this was a conversation, just the two of us. He was not particularly anti-gay. Then you had a lot of American preachers, right-wing American preachers, anti-gay preachers came in and really pushed this line. And so that became very popular. But now, who's pushing the anti-LGBTQ line across the world? It's Russia. Because Putin sets himself up as this family value.
A lot is happening in Nigeria. A lot is happening in Nigeria. Ofgem in the UK here, Ofgem announced a ban on forced metering. I do have Olayemi right here with me. Yomi, good morning to you. How are you?
Well, a very good morning to you, Mr. Frank. Good morning, Archie, that I know is having a short behind the scene walk. Good morning to all our listeners. A very good afternoon to those of you that are watching us from around the globe. And welcome once again to the Star Radio UK with myself and Frank. After a very long time, it's good to have the two of us, to battle it this morning, give all our listeners, what they need to hear, especially when it's Africa. There is money there, as a lot of us know, but there's more wahala. As I always say to my wife, I say, wahala be like bicycle. When you have this bicycle in the village and you have problem with it, if you ride it to get the palm wine and you're making your way back, and if there's any problem with the spring, that is wahala be like bicycle.
I've seen countless times where people have to get off the bicycle and push the bicycle. Push. Once the drink is at the back, then they will be supporting the drink while they are pushing. But that's what makes Africa beautiful. We love it. And sometimes you go to the village and you see how we used to live, how our people still live, and you admire it. Apart from that, how is the family allowing me?
Well, it's just, later on this afternoon, it's going to be, the parents' meeting, which is, the part of the engagement that we always talk about, when we look at, the engagement between yourself, your child in the school, your children in the school, and also the teacher, just to give you a kind of how they're doing in their progress work. In as much as, we expect similar thing as well in most African countries, probably maybe the private school. I'm not too sure the public school have time to have conversation between parent and teachers, and likewise the student as well. We used to have it, which is called the parent-teacher meeting. Whether that still goes on, but I know that most of our teachers now rather are taking most of the students to the farm and assist them in their farm work.
Okay. Anyway, let's fire on what is happening. What are the headlines today? Let's fire on.
Well, the most important headline is, a very sad situation, which is leading to, the debt ratio in Nigeria. A news was coming out from Ogun State where a mother, a 33-year-old woman, sold her baby, 18 months, for guess what, 600,000 naira. That's about 665 pounds. If you convert it to, the British pound sterling, now that's about almost $600 if you're taking it to the dollar ratio as well. What could have led a mother to give away an 18-month-old baby to a stranger in Lagos, where she believed that that would be able to pay off the debt, but maybe she might have another baby? But the husband was a little bit concerned, and that was the reason why the story is now out. She was actually owing some money to the microfinance. We know that it was the UK government that also stamped them out here in UK. I mean, you borrow £200, you could end up paying £3,000 if you're not careful. But all this falls back again to the economy of the country itself. So the World Bank is telling us, as of yesterday, that Nigeria is using 96.3% revenue on debt servicing. So for every 100 naira, I mean, this is an 100 naira note that the federal government makes from Nigeria, whether through the VAT, whether through the crude oil sales, whether through whatever, that means the federal government takes out 82 naira to service the debt. We are not paying the debt yet. We are just servicing the debt. And this is pushing what we can call poverty to almost every part of the country as well. Let's look at some of the headline quickly. Fuel subsidy. We've been talking about the fuel subsidy. The federal government begins 40% pay rise for workers by the end of this month, because the federal government, or maybe should I say the incoming elected president, who might have to deal with that because Buhari seems to be winding down. That literally means that, in June, subsidy might be removed, and if that get removed, cost of petrol will go up, and that is going to have a big impact as well. Let's go to some of the other headlines that we have as well. The NBA has appealed for release of adopted former President Wali. Let's take a look at that. The Nigerian Bar Association, promoting the rule of law, has appealed to the adopters of his former president, Mr. Okiwali, senior advocate of Nigeria, to release him without harm. These are some of the current situation. 2 officers died, in the process yesterday. A very sad situation, and especially the insecurity in the country. At exactly 9 minutes past 11, this is when we give the update coming out of Nigeria. And as we always say, may Nigeria not happen to each and every one of us. So let's go into the report. According to the NBA current president, Yakubu Maikalu, the senior advocate of Nigeria, made the passionate plea on Tuesday in a statement made to the paper. Wali was reportedly adopted in the early hours of, yesterday, 17th of April 2023, after his convoy was allegedly attacked along Eastern West in Obio Akpo local government area of Rivers State. Nobody else have come out to give reason for that adoption. We don't know whether it's got to do with, personal or just some of those atrocity that is happening in Nigeria. We're going to take 2 or 3 more headlines and come back again to you in the studio. Once again, a very good morning to those that are watching us in Benin Republic and all over the world. We are now more concerned, the legal team of Mazi Nnamdi Kanu, due to his health. The federal government continued to hold him even though he has been acquitted of all the charges by the same court. But it seems that, the current state of, health of Nnamdi Kanu, DSS keeping Nnamdi Kanu with a TB patient alleges cancer. Tuberculosis is a very, very common one, very rapid in most African countries, West Africa, and is not yet been eradicated. But what we can say is that a lawyer representing Nnamdi Kanu, Aloy Ejimako, says the detained leader of the indigenous people of Biafra, Nnamdi Kanu, is bleeding through the nose after allegedly coming in contact with a tuberculosis patient in the detention of the Department of State Services. In a tweet yesterday,
today my associate, Barrister Mandela, met with Onyedu Nnamdi Kanu at the DSS. He reported that Nnamdi Kanu directed me to make it public that he had an episode of profuse nose bleeding yesterday, and the DSS has transferred a detained diagnosed with tuberculosis to his cell block. And, this is a little bit concerned as well. So I'm going to come back again to you in the studio. When we come back, we take more headline, and we're going to be telling you some of the media in Nigeria representing the Yoruba nation paid a courtesy visit to Professor Banji Akintoye and Dr. Oloye Sunday IGBOHO, and I'll be giving some of what they came back with for the listeners, especially those that are asking for the right to self-determination. Star Radio UK, the finest African and Caribbean radio station in London.
Right, Star Radio UK, thank you for joining us wherever you are. You logged on to Star Radio. Olawumi in our North Studio and Frank here in our South London studios, bringing you the morning news. And we're on the Nigeria headlines. Olawumi, I am worried about what might befall Nigeria should the IPOP leader Nnamdi Kanu die in police custody or the custody of the DSS. Reason being that if we might not like the Constitution as it is in this present form, but the Constitution, the way it is now, also makes provision for the rule of law to be respected even by the state. More so when a court has actually taken a decision for this man to be set free for now, and the DSS are still keeping him. Here we now are getting information that his health condition is deteriorating. What are Nigerians saying? Because in my view, should this man pass away in the custody of the state, we have another problem on our hands. What are Nigerians saying?
Well, just as you were saying that, I was just, logging into, that bed, which is where the conversation goes on, especially the Twitter. Nigerians are making use of it, even though it's also having a backlash. One of the investigative journalists known as David Udoya has been suspended, and the reason for that, according to Twitter, is he has violated, by uploading, the Guinea passport of Tinubu, and that is already going on. So that shows the level. And as I speak to you right now, at 20,000 tweets, guess what? Nnamdi Kanu is currently trending when it comes to the tweet from Nigeria. So you want to see the reaction, we have to go through the comment section and see what Nigerians are saying, whether those are agree and whether those are disagree as well. Most media are also picking it up, especially as one of the mainstream media in Nigeria says, Nnamdi Kanu, lawyer raised alarm over his health. This is also coming from some of those, again, another media says tuberculosis inmate move near Nnamdi Kanu cell, lawyer cries out. Now, what is happening today in Kaduna and Benue would have been a joke compared to what Fulani would have been doing in Southeast. Nnamdi Kanu created a resistance, the ESN. Without them today, we will be laying our people to rest. And I believe this person is also, with a prison, Nnamdi Kanu in that cell block, Boko Haram next to it, and the bandit next to it, and you can compare which one is the real criminal, so the court would decide. Imam of Peace is somebody that also has a big, huge follower, is somewhere, I believe, in one of the Arab countries. Buhari's policy, terrorists are free, political oppositions are behind bars. I'm going to take two more, then come back again to you. More reaction is definitely coming from those in support of the Biafra, but CG Umba says, another compelling reason not to take Nnamdi Kanu standing order for granted. The suffering is too much, the humiliation is unbearable. Kanu does not deserve the ill treatment he's getting right now from the lawless Nigerian government. Star Radio UK, I'll come back again to you in the studio.
Right, thank you very much. You still log on to Star Radio. Let's stay on the Nnamdi Kanu issue. We know now that, the Prime Minister, self-proclaimed Prime Minister of IPOP, has actually inaugurated or basically appointed people into his cabinet. What are Nigerians saying about that? Do you know some of those people who have been appointed?
Well, yes, I've been following the leader and the new, government in exile, which is known as, the Biafra government in exile, ordered by, Mazi Simon Ekpa. currently based in Finland, is the current, prime minister that was, selected or elected by, those within the Biafra movement as well. What do we know in terms of, the reaction? The reaction has been mixed. Some that believe that, they are doing the needful, in a peaceful way, and some say that, this cannot happen. Yes, there have been, names of people that are in part of those cabinets, which I'm going to bring up in a minute. Once again, this is still Star Radio UK. He has actually issued a directive that May 29, there will also going to be a sit-at-home. Remember that May 29 is the transition from the same government, but the new president-elect, Bola Ahmed Tinubu. But there has been different names when it comes to, those that are also part of the new cabinet. I'm going to just bring that up in just about a few minutes. Yeah. But once again, as we continue to monitor the situation of things, sit-at-home memo against the May 29th swearing in of Islamic State, it will be completely and totally rejected in the Biafra territory, according to him. He's also talking about the amalgamation, which is the unification of Nigeria. Remember that, a lot of people still ask the question, why did the British colony added us together? The Biafra has had a civil war before in 1967 that led to the Nigerian government massacring about almost 5 million of them. But as we have it right here now, I think I have in front of me some of the names representing the Biafra government in exile, according to the information that we have. It's just it's just loading up. Once again, Nigerians are reacting in different ways. They seems to have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 women. So it seems that they are probably well represented. Different names, of each one of them. Like I said, we might probably at some point, see if we can get them in to come and tell us what does it mean to have a government in exile. And they've already started sending letters to the United Nations, the European Union, giving them all the reasons why government in exile is more needed at this particular time, and the push for a referendum for the Biafra, exit from Nigeria. We can only say we wish them well. For those who fight for freedom, once it's justified, we always will support them. Now let's move on to the visitation. We know Professor was visited. Can you just tell us a little bit more about what transpired, the purpose of the visit, and how is a Yoruba nation movement going, and if any statement has been issued in that regard, please? Well, the media at home, because, the media seems to be in two. We have what I call the Yoruba nation movement at home, the home media, and we also have the international media. They both work together hand in hand. But let's take you back a little bit. Remember that, we had, one individual that also came into the program around June, to speak to us, Onitiri on Star Radio UK. But later on, before the end of the year, she declared what was known as a Yoruba nation country, in contrary to the leader of the Yoruba nation struggle, in as much as, she was trying to be brought closer to the conversation with Professor Adebanja Akintoye. But it seems now that she has been able to take some individuals away from the movement to the what she's believed that she has declared that independent on the November 20. That led to what we can call a slowdown with the movement, according to what the outcome of the meeting in Benin Republic by the media that went down there over the weekend. And we were being told that, the Yoruba nation struggle is not dead. That's number one. We were also told from the feedback that as at last year, Professor and IGBOHO had every reason that the push for the movement would have taken us to the next stage as well. But because of the declaration, the false declaration that came from this individual, then that kept a little bit of, concern to some of the countries that we have not been told that are in support of the movement as well. So the most message that has now been sent to the media first is, if there's any atrocity within the Yoruba land, it has to be verified, it has to be documented, especially with the kidnap cases. If they're happy with us to have them to be speaking to us, these are some of the reasons that will be presented to the international community. And the Yoruba nation struggle is not dead yet. It's just as it is 3 years ago, but with more people needs to be told
basic more reason why the Yoruba needs to go. Just as we saw that a Yoruba woman selling off her daughter at 600,000 naira, which is something that the late Chief Obafemi Awolowo would never have wanted. So these were part of the conversation. And when IGBOHO also got to visit, these individuals, the media got to IGBOHO as well, because they're both living in different parts of the Benin Republic. IGBOHO also came out to say peace is what it continue, but moving back away from Yoruba nation is not in his timetable, even though it might be inconvenient for him right now. He believes in the struggle, he's standing firm with the struggle, even though he has lost so much, but he has not left the Yoruba nation struggle, as so many different allegations against him and Professor Akintoye continue to surface on the social media.
Right, thank you very much, listeners, wherever you are. For those of you who support the Yoruba Nation movement, like I always say, struggle comes and struggle continues. Some people come, they will do this, and they will continue. One thread that every movement that does not achieve its goal has experience or experiences is division. One, there's division. One, they counter, these groups are forming, then that's the beginning or the end. So if you always believe, yes, you might have achieved what you wanted, you didn't want election in your land, it happened, but that doesn't mean that the struggle should die on. So please, if you really do believe in what you're doing, keep the fight up. At the end of the day, even if you don't achieve the independence at all, reforms we know would occur, and whatever push you to start a struggle, some of those problems will be solved. Olami, let's proceed to other news items, please.
We just take one more, then go straight to what is happening on the social media. Just as the Vice President Yemi Osinbajo believed that as Igbos, as Hausas, as Efik, as the 500 ethnic groups in Nigeria, everyone can live anywhere in Nigeria and also pursue their political aspiration, because we knew that during the 2023 election, especially in Lagos State, the ethnic card was played. And it was very played where that the narrative was that the Igbos will be taking Lagos if you vote in one of the governors that was contesting as well. But Osinbajo disagreed with that. In Nigeria, what is at issue is not and has never been our diversity, but our capacity to manage it with sense of fairness, equity, and justice. The Vice President Yemi Osinbajo says it is possible for Nigeria to conquer ethnic and religious prejudice, as there are crucial issues in building a unified nation. He was actually saying this yesterday, where in the maiden policy making and good governance lecture series of the National Institute of Policy and Strategic Studies in Jos. Whether a lot of Nigerians, especially those that say no, one part of the country has taken control of every resources and every position. Is that going to change when the new president-elect comes in, Bola Tinubu? Is he going to be putting everything, or is he going to balance it? And like you said there, Frank, is he going to make it in a way that even if it doesn't go back to the regional government, they might balance it where they have the Igbo, the Yoruba, the other ethnic groups in different positions, as against where the Fulanis precisely have dominated most part of the country when it comes to the ministerial post and different positions as well. Let's go straight to what is happening. Another very sad news coming from Osun State. Gunmen has kidnapped couple in Osun State. A couple returning from a church program were abducted around 4 o'clock on the 15th. News is very, very far behind when it comes to Nigeria. And the reason for that is, there's a little bit of delay. Sometimes, it needs to be verified properly before it can be aired. But as we know, over the weekend, another couple seems to be missing. The motive for that, nobody knows. But most time is all about the ransom. You might be wondering why we are bringing him again. Lai Mohammed, that is him right there, is the Minister for Information. It seems is trending at number almost 3 this morning on the social media. So let's see what Nigerians are saying when it comes to Lai Mohammed. According to the government, Federal Minister of Information, Honorable Minister of Information Lai Mohammed speaks on the 2023 election on the Times Radio Drive with John Pierre. Well, as usual, we know that this is what they do. Maybe we might just speak from what he's saying so that we can be able to now know the reaction from Nigeria. Most time, Lai Mohammed preferred the Western media where he believes that he can give the narrative of what is happening in Nigeria. And let's hear a little bit of the snip before we come back to where and what the reaction is coming as well.
Both the second and third place candidates have launched legal action against Bola Tinubu's victory. The Nigerian Minister for Information and Culture, Lai Mohammed, is in the UK to counter the concerns about the election. And I spoke to him earlier, asked if he accepted the dispute represents a big issue for the country.
On the contrary, the just concluded elections in Nigeria is the freest and the most transparent ever held. I think the problem has to do with the social media. There was so much hype, so much activity on the social media, which did not represent what was exactly on ground. You see, in Nigeria, for you to win elections, you must be a party that has national spirit, national organization, and grassroots people. We're talking about a country with 176,000 polling units. And for you to really win elections in Nigeria, you can't be a sectional leader. You can't campaign on religion. You can't even rely on the youth alone. So, all this hype, social media, all these opinion polls, they were not representative of the reality on ground. And that is why it's difficult for most commentators, particularly international media, to accept the outcome of the elections.
But on the ground, the turnout for the election was very, very low, less than 30%. And there were complaints about the way the results were posted, leaving limited time for challenges, which would have been normal in a free and fair election. The fact that you're here, Minister, making the argument that you're making, it tells me that you recognise this is a problem.
Oh yes, you see, there's a perception.
Well, we picked for the most important part, that I would like to use there. That is the voice of Lai Mohammed. And anyone would come back to the studio. He's currently in London, but he would avoid coming on the Star Radio UK, even if we throw the offer to him. And we're still throwing the offer. He can come and give us a better narrative. And there's a lot, and I can see why it's actually trending this morning.
I think we need to try and see if we can get him. But there are a few things that I picked up over there. I don't know what I call him Lai Mohammed. I don't know what he thinks. Forgive me.
Somebody Shegun wanna say Ogalai Minister Elenu Bokulu. So that Elenu means that somebody's mother is like that.
Yeah. You see, he's speaking as if social media is only geographically restricted to Nigeria. That apart from Nigeria, there's no other country that has gone to an election in the age of information technology. Because at the end of the day, we've seen elections across the globe. And social media, what does it do? The only thing it does to amplify information that is available. I am not ignorant of the fact that people also use it for devious activities. Fake information can flow. But Lai Mohammed cannot tell us, and I don't think Nigerians will accept the fact that whatever happened in Nigeria that was shared on social media, we should blame social media for it. We should be blaming what orchestrated the event itself. And he's not saying what? The media, especially the Western media, is finding it difficult to accept the result. Okay, if they are finding it difficult to accept the result, how are they going to govern without the support of the masses? Olami.
Well, Lai Mohammed is doing the exact job that he should do with the government, and exactly, by giving the West, what they need to hear. Remember that the West have not really, been very, they've been very, very careful.
Yeah.
Because this election has not been the normal kind of election that we've had. Even those that disagree with the Nigeria views knew straight away that, it has given Nigeria a kind of a push, especially, even the Minister for Works and Transport, Fashola, the former governor of Ogun State, the former governor of Lagos State, rather, said on Sunday that they didn't prepare for what was going to happen.
Right.
And it seems that it came to them unnoticed, because remember they were telling the Obi Labour Party that he didn't have the structure, but now they are saying go to court.
Go to court, go to court. Now, Osibanjo, why is Osibanjo coming in with this tribal angle now? Where was he when it was all playing up during elections?
Well, the question is, Osinbajo, is a very highly intelligent man. We got to be honest. Very intelligent. He was part of Tinubu team when Tinubu became the president the governor in 1999. He was the one handling most of the legal affairs of Tinubu. But why Tinubu decided not to make him present in the campaign is still what a lot of Nigerians, are still asking the question. Remember that Osinbajo himself wanted to be the president, but he never did because he was not elected during the primaries. But now that the election has completed, it seems he's going back to the real rhetoric as usual as a politician. In their title, the vice president said no Nigerian should be discriminated against on the basis of his tribe or religion and condemned the weaponization of the ethnic and religious basis of political purpose. But it doesn't seem in reality, because what we saw played out in this election will be remembered for a very long time. Even in the southeast, the Yorubas were not given that same opportunity. In the south, in the north, it seems that they are that kind of linked to each other. But in the southwest, there was this agenda that the Igbo were going to be taking over, and that means that Peter Obi himself was working on the agenda of the Igbos. Wow. Thank you very much, Olawumi. Let's proceed to other news. And then we go straight to the last part of the tweet. Eco-Atlantic is trending. The Federal High Court is trending. And I believe, Sudan is also picking up in Nigeria as a lot of Nigerians continue to monitor the current fact of things. And I've been updating, the Sudan situation. And as we said yesterday, we said again, it is always good to go through the peaceful way than go through, the weapon way, because nobody is going to win. We saw the Houthis have been fighting since 2015 after the revolution of Tunisia in 2011. And today, after so many deaths, so many damages, they are now exchanging prisoners of wars. They are now trying to talk to each other. Why then did we have to go through that route? We pray that there will be peace right somewhere in Sudan. And we also pray that there will be peace, to be able to bring the situation in Nigeria presently. I've been following Blinken conversation as well. And all this is trending as Nigerians continue to monitor what is currently happening. Like I always say as well, David Odoye seems to be trending. He's very popular on the social media. He's got a huge follower, but it seems Twitter doesn't know who you are. They've actually suspended his account while he's trying to appeal it. I mean, Salah Mohammed will be happy. Yeah. Tinubu actually said during his conversation, I believe last year, that he hates Twitter so much because of the passion on it. Yes, because they don't want the young people to speak. But Olami, going back to the Sudan issue, I think it's very, very sad, especially the fact that Sudan is a predominantly Muslim country. And this is a time the Muslims are actually looking up to Allah. And for it to happen at this time, even for nothing at all, those leaders should look up to the God that they claim to serve, which is Allah. Because one of the most important calendars, or one of the most important things that is in the calendars of every Muslim in the sacrificial period, where they do fast and look up to Allah. And if you claim you even love your people, you want power, and you're going to disrupt their watch, basically the time that they are looking up to Allah, then basically what you're doing is totally wrong. And I think we should continue to appeal. Most of those that went for the for the Umrah will not be returning home anytime soon. Especially that we saw the 3 airline that were destroyed, the aircraft destroyed on the tarmac of Khartoum, Saudi Arabia, United Arab Emirates, and I believe one from the other country, Ukraine, if I'm right. And that literally means that those that went for Umrah would have to spend more time in Saudi Arabia. And I also picked up, I think one of the imam in the Mecca yesterday was praying for peace as well. We continue to pray for peace, and we hope, those peace will come very quick, because the civilians are going to be, and this is where a lot of those that are agitated are also saying that the government should not get to where people will be pushed to where there will be confrontation. True. There's still ample of time for roundtable. We hope Buhari will be able to do something, especially with the case of Nnamdi Kanu, and we hope the president-elect will be monitoring the situation in Sudan, even though he's still monitoring himself in Paris. Right. Thank you very much, Olami. Let's proceed. Well, that will be it for this morning on the Star Radio UK. But you can follow us on the social media on Star Radio UK. Let's take some of the comment coming from our listeners on the sister broadcast. Saeed Balogu say, we are so much suffering in Nigeria. People feeling hungry, no going back. Yoruba Nation now as well. Also greetings as well from all the listeners in Benin Republic, must be, and likewise as many other comment that is coming through as well. The best thing for us is to end Nigeria together, but I'm not sure whether our politicians want Nigeria to end right now. Good evening and good afternoon, and likewise, Free2Tin on Instagram says, the old evil liar.
Olami, but before you go, let me pick up your brains on this. Have you ever been a subject of forced metering in your house before?
Well, maybe not, but I'm sure,
I have experienced it before. I had a dispute with SSE. And they sent you.
My mom had one with them, and I think the bill that was brought was kind of.
Yeah. I mean, you'll be there because they have power. They just come in, change your meter. They say the law says, oh, well, once we provide you a meter, and the new meter they give you, I tell you what, when you buy your credit, it drinks it like the way
it goes like, because you're already been capped, for somebody owing a debt, so they're probably removing every 10 pounds, they remove 2 pounds.
With that hindsight, what do you think the impact of what the Ofgem has just announced is going to be? Because what they've announced now is that even if you are in debt, the company should be able to give you ample time. They should be able to get you to understand, and you should come to a point where the two of you negotiate, because some of those bills that they're giving you are totally. I had a situation where the same meter, 3 companies were telling me I owe them on the same meter within the same period. So basically, Scottish Power says they were providing power. Eon says they were providing power, and IGLO were actually the ones who were providing power. So within the same period, the same month, 3 companies were sending you bills, and then you ask yourself, where are we going? What do you think the impact is going to be?
Well, I mean, the problem is that when we look at UK, one of my previous home where I was living, my neighbor never turned on the gas. Not too sure why. Probably maybe for this reason.
Yeah.
But again, it's not a very good one because the house become damped as well.
Yeah.
The UK, needs to do more, especially at this particular time. The inflation is going up, and we have to make use of the gas, since we cannot do the African one where we can pull out the hood and start burning things at the back. If you have a farmhouse, you might be lucky to get away with it by just using the old method. But if you're living in some of the places that we are living, then that means you need the gas to be able to operate, especially if you got children in the house.
I've just heard someone saying right from Nigeria, say, you shut up, at least you got the energy, we don't have it. Olami, good afternoon.
Well, you can never have it all. Have a very good afternoon.
Okay, thank you very much. Listeners, that was Olami for you. Bring your updates from Nigeria. We'll cross straight. Let's take some music. We'll go for some breaks, and then when we return, we'll proceed with.
All right, and let's come back into the conversation here. We have probably about an hour, and then we will wind down swiftly because we've done 2 hours already. Let's switch and break the sound back. I'm out of that. I want to already mix LR. But once again, a very, very good afternoon and welcome once again as we are now at the second part. We were actually looking at the Nigerian debt this morning as usual. Lai Mohammed, even though Sito Kanapelu election, Lai Mohammed tells lies. We know that is what he does best, by telling lies. And let me play this quickly, and then we'll come back and discuss more about it. We played it yesterday, but without the image.
Gay people, and they teach their children not to, know what gender they are. They're all pedophiles. This is the stuff you hear from Kremlin propaganda. This is the stuff that you're hearing across Africa. And now we have this LGBTQ law in Uganda, which is very much part of the Russian playbook.
When it comes to that idea of this battle over the continent between America and Russia, China, etc., does it feel like, with countries like Uganda, that the West is losing? Because then also we have groups like the Wagner Group in Africa, the private military.
I don't know whether Citizen AY is still there. I cited you earlier on my brother, Can't Love You Less, Ayogundi Mumoki, and Moki Wentoku now, AY is a media, and I cited him with his beautiful white beard. Let's listen more to these. I do not own the copyright, so if you don't find it in any period in this broadcast, it has been removed. But the headline
is Africa at the center of a new Cold War? We talked about it at length yesterday during my program, but we didn't have the image as you have it right now. One thing a lot of us need to understand is Africa is where the Cold War is going on, especially between Russia and America, and Awalawaje, the cross breed, Awalawala and Imeji, and it's having a big impact. And part of that impact is where we cannot even have enough to take care of our people. As you can see there, the debt continue to rise and is rising very fast, having a big impact on the lives of so many Nigerians, where somebody is now selling their baby. 18-month-old baby was sold for 600,000 naira in Ogun State. She actually sold it in Lagos State, which is about almost 600 pounds. So we come back again to that. Let's quickly listen to this more.
Military that's helping the Russian army in Ukraine, they've been focusing recently when it comes to propaganda on Niger.
And shout out to all our Biafra brothers as well. I can cite some of you in the program. We're concerned about Nnamdi Kanu, and we will continue to highlight that in all our platforms, just as I've done on the Star Radio UK this morning. And we hope that the international community will not allow Nnamdi Kanu to die in the custody of the DSS. That would be a catastrophe for the government of the Federal Republic of Nigeria.
The Ivory Coast, does it feel like those are the countries that's trying to switch them from democracies?
Well, it's not just switching them from democracies, because a lot of the countries where Wagner is involved are fighting jihadists. So, I mean, it's mostly in West Africa, French-speaking West Africa. So there's a huge jihadi problem in Mali, Burkina Faso, Niger, all across there. Now, one of the reasons I think that Kamala Harris went to Ghana is because there's a great concern that this may start to happen in Ghana, which has those borders. And she offered a lot of American aid to all of those countries to fight the jihadists.
Okay, and I did a full program because a lot of our people, probably when they come here, they don't know that you learn a lot from this platform. I talked about that. $100 million was what America, is going to be given to Togo, Benin Republic, and I believe Ghana as well. Remember that article? We actually, and you can still read it. It's still there. I talked about this. In full details. Program Konlafishi. Kamala Harris pledges $100 million, to West Africa. In West Africa. I talked about the West Africa as well. And that is why we must be grateful for IGBOHO, because the reason why America is doing this now is to fight extremists. Kini IGBOHO fight for nígbà tó jáde. Let's see if we can get Oloye video when he was traveling to when we were going to somewhere in Ogun State. Where's that video? Kapofi, Buttressy, But at the end of the day, a lot of you don't even understand what IGBOHO stand for. The same thing America stand for, IGBOHO not stand for. The government is using their own power to suppress what IGBOHO is doing. Iti àwọn politician le Yoruba máa fún IGBOHO ní support. Pé in tó ń ṣe yìí, ṣé ó dá kí terrorists máa pa wá? But no, they don't want to do so. So let's hear from IGBOHO here.
Family wa, gbogbo àìmọ̀ àtọ́ ń bẹ lókè òkun òní wálé, ẹ̀rù ń bá àwọn fọ́mọ̀ tí wọ́n gbé gbogbo ẹ̀sùn ọ̀nà èkó ń bí káàkiri ọ̀nà Oǹdó Èkìtì káàkiri gbogbo lẹ́yìn Yorùbá Fúlàní jí wa gbọ́n pa wá. So ìdí ìdàgbò òfin ọ̀fẹ́ tàkàwọ̀ ọ̀dọ́ ká jáde fúnra ká fáìtì ẹ̀tọ́ wa ká bẹ̀rẹ̀. wọn ò lè wálé ẹ̀rù ń bà àwọn fọ́mọ̀ jí wọn gbé gbogbo express ọ̀nà èkó ń bí káàkiri ọ̀nà Oǹdó Èkìtì káàkiri gbogbo lẹ́yìn Yorùbá Fúlàní jí wọn gbé wọn pa wá so ìdí nìyí tàbí òfin ọ̀fẹ́ tàkà wọ ọ̀dọ́ ká jáde fúnra ká fáìtì ẹ̀tọ́ wa ká béèrè ráìtì wa lọ́wọ́ àkókò yìí òdì nìyẹn tí mo fi ń ṣèpé ẹni Fúlàní ẹ̀sìn náà jí ni pé ó kò lórí ilẹ̀ Yorùbá. Ìgbọ̀ngàn báyìí ṣé ẹ lè sọ pé peace alájà ti wà ní gẹ́gẹ́ àwọn alájàjà ń pọ̀ fún àmì ìbálàfíà àti wà sòkè dẹ̀ síbẹ̀ nìkan mo sọ sílẹ̀ síwájú pé kì í ṣe ìgbẹ̀ngàn nìkan ní àjẹkára gbogbo lẹ́yìn bá pátápátá lápapọ̀ láti máa béèrè ẹ̀jẹ̀ ká dúpẹ́ lọ́lọ́ gómìnà Ògùn State náà fúnra wọn sọ pé àwọn nífẹ̀ẹ́ wọ́n fi hàn pé àwọn nífẹ̀ẹ́ àwọn tí àwọn ń ṣèjọba lé lórí because tí gómìnà bá nífẹ̀ẹ́ àwọn mẹ̀kúnnù tó ń ṣèjọba lé lórí Ògùn State kò ní gbà wá láì pé káwá fèsì àwọn Fúlàní ẹ̀sìn mẹ́rin náà so fúnra ìjọba ló sọ pé.
Kí lẹ rò pé Ìgbòho sọ níbẹ̀ yẹn CSI is that not the same threat ní America ń sọ níbí báyìí? Kamala Harris pledges 100. The audio was muted. Earlier on. Kamala Harris pledges $100 million to West African nations to fight extremist threat. Kí ló ń pè ní extremist? Ìwọ tó dá kankan mọ̀. Because ìtí Ìgbòho ń jà fún tó bá yẹ pé àwa ni àti dáwó fún Ìgbòho àti dáwó fún bàbá Akíntóyè dáwó fún bàbá Akíntóyè dáwó fún Ìgbòho. Adáwó láti fi sọpọ́tì Yorùbá nation movement ni ẹ̀yin idiot one bastard Ìgbòho kọ́ lẹ dáwó fún because ọlọ́lá ní Ìgbòho tẹ́lẹ̀ bàbá Akíntóyè rẹ̀ nídòwó bàbá 87 kí ló fẹ́ fowó ṣe but àwa sọ pé nídòwó but America pay release ìwọ́n mọye 100 million jẹ́ láti fi sọpọ́tì Ghana Benin Republic tí àwọn bàbá Akíntóyè wà nísìn America pay fi 100 million sílẹ̀ láti fi sọpọ́tì Ghana Benin Republic Ivory Coast Guinea Togo ìlú márùn-ún ni pé kọ́ lè fi ja ìjà pé àwọn extremists kí ló ń pè ní extremist dá lọ sáré wo dictionary òmùgọ̀ bomb bastard kí ló ń pè ní extremist.
Extremist.
Again.
Extremist.
Kí ló àwọn ló ń pè bẹ́ẹ̀.
Extremist.
A person who hold extreme political or religious views, especially one who advocates illegal, violent or other extreme action. The extremist, àwọn tí wọ́n ń dà nǹkan rú. Extremist is the quality or a state of being extreme or advocacy of extreme measure. Ṣé àwọn Fúlàní nísìn are they not extreme people? Ṣé a lè bá wọn gbé? Àbí o tí rí wọn rí? Maybe I should show you, let's see, I think we might have gbóni fídíò àwọn Boko Haram yẹn wà. Kó lè rí àwọn tá à ń sọ̀rọ̀ ẹ̀. Àbó mọ̀ pé àwọn tá à ń sọ̀rọ̀ yẹn, they are people that we cannot live with. Ṣé o lè gbé pẹ̀lú àwọn extremists, àwọn tó yẹ pé views wọn ó contradict ìwọ tó ń pè rẹ ní Mùsùlùmí ká má ti wá sọ pé àwọn tá à ń ṣẹ̀ṣẹ̀ ṣe. Ṣé o mọ̀ pé wọ́n láìka àwọn tá à ń ṣẹ̀ṣẹ̀ ṣe? O tí mọ̀. Mo ń bọ̀. Fídíò wò lélẹ̀, I have to know it. Ẹgbọ́. These are the people tí Ìgbòho ń torí ẹ̀jà. Ẹ̀gbọ́n ti ìmọ̀ye àwọn àlàbá wọ́n wọlé ó ti pa wọ́n. Kò sẹ́ni tó rántí ìyá yìí mọ́ nísìn. Èmi kan fẹ́ rántí wọn mọ́. Mo kàn lo kíní ẹ̀ mo kàn kọ Fúlàní àtàkì ni. Èyí tí mo wá àwọn tó tẹ̀ ń gbé ìbọn ni bọ̀tẹ́lẹ̀ náà dá. And that's why this guy is saying that ìlú burúkú nílùú yẹn ilé agbọ́n kan tó ń sọ. So parọ́ ṣé Portable parọ́ kò parọ́ náà because Igboho is fighting for the same thing that Nnamdi Kanu is fighting for. Oh no, we don't want to have anything to do with Biafra àtìgbọ́. But by the time the Biafra starts and then we must not say anything, and when they start they are not going to be telling us anything. That means the United Nations will be talking to the federal government, and those that will be handling the situation with the Biafra, people will die. There's no doubt about it. Kò síbi tí èèyàn bá ti fẹ́ freedom tí kò ní sí ikú. We don't pray for such, but it is just a normal thing. And I don't sit here and tell you that it's not going to happen. Yeah, it's going to happen. And if it's not going to happen, then let the government give the Biafra referendum and let us all decide as well from the Yoruba side. If we don't want referendum, then let's decide how we want to go out of Nigeria. If not, the debt in Nigeria. America is planning to spend if we have $100 million today. Taba ní $100 million. Ìjà tá ń jà yóò ti àti ní solution. But we don't have the $100 million. We don't have the weapon to fight a evil monster government as it is. And some people say, no, don't worry. Now that you have a Yoruba man, okay, so the Yoruba man will be supporting Yoruba people. But what about the Igbo people? So the Igbo people will have to wait until Tinubu finish after 8 years, and they will bring in another Igbo man. So the Hausa people or the Fulani people, because they are two different people, but they have the same ideology. They have extreme view. And that is why you look at the meaning of extreme today. It says right there that these are people, what do you call a person that is extreme? Definition of extremist, a person who holds extreme views. And that is why, these guys say Nigeria is a zoo. Is he lying? He's not lying. And if you are waiting for the government, you will all die. I didn't say so, but this man told us that if everybody is waiting for the government, you will die because the government is not coming. And we've known that the Americans have also supported, countries. Up to 50,000 people have been trained, but in 2021, something happened. Let's hear this again. It's just a reminder, because those of you that are still thinking that it is the West, there is now a battleground between Russia and America and the West to fight on the ground of Africa continent. So, because we are saying that the country has a big debt, yet there's also too many other, information, too many other problems that is inside the country. But IGBOHO was fighting for something. But the same thing IGBOHO is fighting for, America said they will release $100 million. Do you know what that is? Let's hear this man.
General Langley, I have constituents that have been scattered across Africa on train and equip missions. So just ballpark in the last decade, how many Africans has the United States military trained and equipped?
Congressman, I don't have that figure. I can get that figure.
Ballpark, just how many?
Congressman, it would be a wild guess.
It seems like something we should know, right?
Over the years, we have trained a substantial number, especially in the Gulf of Guinea states.
But more than 10,000?
It is more than 10,000.
More than 50,000?
I say we're reaching around 50,000 at least.
And what percentage of the people we've trained end up participating in insurrections or coups against their own government?
But we are not doing coup. I will say coup. In that fight, we want out of Nigeria. We don't want to fight the government, but we are saying to the government that give us the opportunity to tell our people whether they want to remain in Nigeria. But the government says no. Oh, you cannot set up a radio station. You cannot go around the street of Lagos State and promote Yoruba nation without being shot dead by Yoruba politician. The same Yoruba politician not long power Kabana Febe campaign lost in Lagos State. The same Yoruba people not to get Yoruba politician. I will not intimidate you. They continue to, and I've asked the question that the people that are holding us back is not the Fulani government. It is the bomb bastard Yoruba politician that are holding you back, and you are continuing to be in debt. Because at the end of the day, they still have money coming in. Look, it's not like Nigeria is that poor. There's still money coming in. But the problem is the money is not enough to fit in the 200 million people in Nigeria so that you can survive. In Nigeria, there's still revenue coming in. It might not be enough. And that literally means that when they share the revenue, the first revenue goes to each 36 states. And the first thing your government do is accountant. Federal government send money. Let's give, I don't know how much they give them every month. Let's even put it at about probably, 20 billion naira. It could be more, it could be less, I don't know, just for argument's sake. So tọ́bá fún Ogun State ní 20 billion. Kí ló dé tí Ogun State ò ṣe jẹ́ kí owó yẹn kó dọ́dọ̀ wú gẹ́ọ̀ tó lọ ta wọ́n for 600,000 naira? Because Ogun State is a born bastard governor that doesn't care about this young mother at 33 years old. Not that Ogun State doesn't have the money, they have the money, but IGBOHO is fighting the same fight, but some of you are telling us IGBOHO should shut up. Let's go back and listen to IGBOHO here.
Okay, power plant is not only pay àwọn tó ń ṣe ìjọba lé lórí lẹ̀ fà. So ìdí ni ìta fi wá sókun sí ilé ni. Ṣé sábà wà lẹ́sẹ̀ tí ní gómìnà báyìí? Mi ò tí ì rí wọn. but èmi ò pé ibi tó jù ìjà bá wà lẹ́ka kọ́kọ́ lọ
ibi tó jù ìjà wà. I was on the ground with him, but today this young mother sold her daughter 18-month-old for 600,000 naira, and there will be more. Because I've just picked up, while I was just, behind the scene there, let's close some of the tab. I just picked up another story where two couples or two women have been picked up. There's still more problem in France. It's never ending. So we know there's baby factory. So these two individuals, two police busted child stealing and trafficking syndicate, arrest 2 female suspects and rescue 2 children. Congratulations. We must continue to rescue children. But where about the 887 children that were got missing in Zamfara State? Nobody's talking about them anymore. Gunmen adopted murder 2 of his aides in Rivers State. Gunmen adopted senior advocate of Nigeria. So there's just too many problems. But the major problem that we are discussing this morning, going to the afternoon, which is about almost 3 minutes before 12 noon, is that Nigeria is spending 96.3% of what we call our 2022 revenue to service the debt, according to the World Bank. But the question is, have Africa turned to where everybody is now using it as a battleground? Let's come back again here quickly. Once again, remember that Kamala Harris is ready to spend, the US government, $100 million. I need look, you need money to fund anything. If you don't have money, you are wasting your bloody hell time. Tẹ́ ẹ bá ti ní owó, ìrọ̀lẹ́ ń pa. Ẹ má dáwó, ṣebí torí ìyá lórí burúkú tó dé yẹn náà ni. Born bastard. Ìyá òṣì. Òun dẹ̀ ń gbowó. Wọ́n ní ká má dáwó, ẹ ti dáwó. Ẹ rí result. Amẹ́ríkà gan ti rí result. Wọ́n sì ń pọ́ǹpù owó náà ni. Even though I'm a bit ṣekúṣẹyẹ ni wọ́n. American government spent 20 bloody years in Afghanistan. Wọ́n padà sálọ náà ni. Do you know how much was pumped into Afghanistan? 3 years, àwọn ọmọ Yorùbá, ẹ̀pọ̀n yìí ti ń jọ ẹ̀ tí ń bèrè pé, àti fail. 20 years l'Amẹ́ríkà fi jà láti fi jàjà Afghanistan. Àwọn Taliban dẹ̀ dóde wọn. They are not in a rush. So àwọn tá à ń bá jà, which is our Yorùbá politician, they are not in a rush. Wọ́n ní owó ju àwa lọ. Wọ́n ní owó because owó government náà wọ́n ń lò. So wọ́n lè influence and àwọn ọ̀dẹ̀ ní gbogbo access sínú ilẹ̀ Yorùbá. Tàbá ní access ni, we will have done more in terms of the presentation. Presentation tó bá lọ sí gbogbo country ilẹ̀ Yorùbá lẹ́ni láàárọ̀ yìí. Ìtí mo sọ yìí, Nàìjíríà máa blow lẹ́sẹ̀kẹsẹ̀ ni. Tọ́ba allow pé transmission ni kókò fún mi ní 1 day péré kí n fi bá gbogbo state sọ̀rọ̀ nílẹ̀ Yorùbá. Tí kò bá blow ìrọ̀lẹ́ ẹ̀rọ pé lọ́nà mọ̀ pa. Kókò fún mi ní 1 hour. But they don't want that to happen because tó bá ṣẹlẹ̀ tọ́bẹ̀ Oríyọmí Hamzat ò lè gbé nǹkan tẹ́mi gbé ìbọ̀ bíbà bá ìdánimọ̀sọ. Gbogbo wọn tó wà Nàìjíríà wọn ní lè gbé because ibẹ̀ làwọn náà ti ń jẹ bomb bastard every one of them. So ìwọ wọn rò pọ̀ easy láti penetrate we are àtún fẹ́ penetrate àwọn kan tún block ẹ̀. Ìyàwó èrè kan lórí burúkú kan wá dé ó bẹ̀rẹ̀ sí sọ jágbàjàgbà pọ̀ ti gba country òṣìwò ló gbà fún yín ibo láti gba country náà America sì fẹ́ ná $100 billion láti fi fight àwọn extremists ìwọ wọn sọ pé a máa gba Yorùbá nation bẹ́ẹ̀ yẹn ibo ọ̀nà olùfẹ́ fi gbà bẹ́ẹ̀ ẹ wá fẹ́ sọ Yorùbá nation di àwàdà kẹ́ríkẹ́rí ẹ sọ di Nollywood film kí lẹ rò pé America ṣe ná $100 million ó mọ ẹ $100 million jẹ́. Do you know how much that is? Àti dáwó, ó ti sú wa, then ẹ má dáwó mọ́. Tẹ́bà fi dáwó, ẹ má dáwó kẹ́ get the fuck out of here, ẹ má dáwó mọ́. Gbogbo ala máa jẹ breakfast, èmi náà ní family níbẹ̀. Ẹni bá kàn ló kàn ni. Èmi lose family kan náà ní January 2nd. Kódà wọ́n tún jí mobile phone ẹ̀, wọ́n lé ẹni tó ti kú, wọ́n tún yọ phone mọ́ lára. Born bastard country. Born bastard. What, no sympathy for anybody, somebody that is dying, they remove his mobile phone and his wallet. No human sympathy. Gbogbo wa la máa jẹ breakfast. Ní sóríire mo sọ fún yín, especially in diaspora tẹ́ ń pa tẹ́ ń sọ jágbàjàgbà lórí ìgbòho, ẹ máa ṣọ́kù ní gbogbo yín. Born bastard. Koiki ni mò ń jẹ́, ẹ tó wá fẹ́ pàdé mi ká pàdé ní Trafalgar Square pé wọ́n tọwọ́ pọ̀ mi lójú, wọ́n fún ẹlẹ́ṣẹ̀ ni. Bí ẹbí bá ní ọlọ́pàá máa ti kó gbogbo wa, ẹ rò pé mi bẹ̀rù yín ni, lè dá fún gbogbo yín. Tí mo sọ fún ẹgbẹ́ mi ni máa pa gbogbo lórí mídíà. Àwọn ti dáwó, ẹ má dáwó fún gbòòwò mọ́, ẹ lọ dáwó fún Yọ̀mí tì nígbà ẹ̀. Born bastard. Ìyá tẹ̀ mọ́ ibi tó wà. Ìyàwó èrè. ẹ ní ṣoríire kí ni kàn mí pẹ̀lú àwọn mídíà wọn kí ni kàn pẹ̀lú àwọn mídíà wọn ìyá ìlànà máa fi ta yín mo sọ fún yín. à ń sọ pé America is still planning to spend America ti sọ pé àwọn ò náwó mọ́ owó táwọn ti ná kò fúnà ìyẹn máa náwó ni ó máa náwó tó máa fi gba result nǹkan tó fẹ́ ni and that's why the Biafra are different with us. àwọn ń dáwọ́ òsì tó kàn wọ́n àwọn ń ra nǹkan ń ra ẹrù pamọ́ you think the Biafra is gonna wait for us pẹ̀lú gbogbo jágbàjàgbà táwọn ṣe you think they will wait for us tó bá bẹ̀rẹ̀ jà ní Biafra land kẹ́ sọ fún wọn pé kọ́ máa jà you think they're gonna wait for us ẹ jẹ́ ká máa ṣe yàmàyàmà yómoyòmo mo sọ fún yín pé tásìkò bá tó ẹ̀yin tẹ́ wà nílé ẹ máa tara yín ni ṣèbíyàn kan ló ta ọmọ 18 months nísìn ẹ máa jẹra yín lẹ́sẹ̀ pa ni mo sọ sẹ́ I don't have anything to hold in Nigeria kí ni kàn family mi tó bá wà ń bẹ̀ tó bá survive kò survive náà nìyẹn problem tí wọ́n nìyẹn because a lè kó gbogbo yín kúrò nínú Nàìjíríà kò possible níbo la fẹ́ kó gbogbo yàn lọ we have how many states in Yoruba land ṣá máa mú gbogbo yàn kúrò nítorí pé a fẹ́ gba country no àwọn kan máa wà on the ground àwọn kan máa wà níta àwọn kan fẹ́ náwó àwọn kan ní kan máa náwó mọ́ owó ta náà ti pọ̀ jù ẹ àti dáwó àrí result born bastard ẹ tí mọ̀ kankan $100 million ní America tó fẹ́ invest padà sí another West African country láti ṣiṣẹ́ kíni láti fi make sure pé àwọn olórí burúkú terrorists tó ń bá yàrá sùn lóko tó ń ṣe jàǹbá fún wa wọn ò ní lè jáde òdèjì àwọn nìkan là ń dín pẹ̀lú we are dealing with Dangote we are dealing with Michael Nuga we are dealing with all this bomb bastard social elite tó ń pera àwọn náà social life bomb bastard àwọn náà hold you down because the terrorists are in the forest while the real one continue to destroy the economy and they become a monopoly. Ṣẹ̀mọ̀ etí Dangote ń control in terms of our revenue ní Lagos State. Ṣé Dangote àti àwọn ọmọ Igbo èwo ló ń pawó jù ní Nàìjíríà nínú Lagos State? Ṣé àwọn ọmọ Igbo ló ń pawó jù Dangote lọ? Ẹ máa tọ́ra yín. Continue to tell lies. Ẹ kúkú fẹ́ gbọ́ òótọ́, ẹ máa parọ́ tọ́ra yín. Ṣé Dangote àti ọmọ Igbo ẹ calculate gbogbo àwọn ọmọ Igbo tó wà ní Lagos State and Dangote ta ló ń paṣu jù? Do you know the refinery of Dangote is worth almost $80-something million if not a little bit more than that? Do you know what Dangote is trying to do? Kò fẹ́ jẹ́ kí gbogbo epo tí wọ́n ń gbé lọ sí ìta. I showed you the graph already. Let me show you again because some of you are just bloody illiterate. Dákọ̀kọ́ mọ̀. Let's look at it again. Ṣé orí gbogbo epo yìí? Dangote also wants to get the share cake of it because ó ti pọ̀ jù. Even if he cannot get everything, he wants to get some of it. These are all the countries that we are actually selling our crude oil to. Then tabalowo import it means that it don't gbé padà wá sí Nigeria and you look at the refinery which is the most important part so all these countries ní Dangote ń bínú sí pé kí ló dé so ìwọ wọn complain pé àwọn ọmọ Igbo ń gba Lagos mọ́ yín lọ́wọ́ whereas Dangote has actually controlled the resources of Lagos State ẹ tí mo kankan ẹ jẹ́ mo yóò yà ni mo sọ fún yín Dangote gangan ló ni wọ́n front àwọn Fulani àwọn ti jihadists. And every one of them are part of the extremists because at the back on Moto Dangote, there's a lot of evidence out there on the social media. So continue to live in denial. Let's remove this, general bonzolo that we were looking at before earlier on. Let's just play it one more time, then we move straight forward.
Congressman, very small number.
So what percentage is it?
I'd say probably less than 1%. But it does have the IMEC program is enforced, and we push a number, a significant number to our schools across the.
And what data sets do you track to arrive at the conclusion that less than 1% of the roughly 50,000 that we've trained have participated in coups?
Less than 1%.
So like about 500, about 1% of 50,000.
Congressman, you may have that information.
Well, I know there's some, right? Like in.
Bẹ́ẹ̀ni, onítìrì is more deadlier than the X-Men.
This is Mohamed Doumbouya, and this is a photo of him. Did we train and equip him? In Guinea?
By name, I cannot identify that.
Well, that guy in the middle with the big red hat, Colonel Mohamed Doumbouya, that's him with a bunch of U.S. service members outside of our embassy. And just months after this photo was taken, in 2021, he led a coup.
He led a coup. General Doumbouya, America trade in Guinea in 2021. He led a coup. But the same America is still saying that àwọn fẹ́ náwó, ìyàn máa náwó ni. Ẹ má náwó, wọ́n kàn jẹ́wọ́ yín ni o. Ẹ má náwó kí gọ́ọ̀mẹ̀ntì dẹ̀ máa tó máa control life wa. Or ká máa prepare mind wa pé a máa jáde sí títì. A block everywhere. 7 days, ẹ jẹ́ ká block airport. Stop. Earlier tó bá bí da kó lọ sí Sudan nìsín. airline tó bá bí bàbá ẹ̀dá kó gbéra láti ìlú ẹ̀ kó risk life ẹ̀ kó gbé kó lọ sí Sudan. Ẹ̀yẹ́ lọ sí Sudan. Even they cannot fly through the airspace. That is how important it is. And that Sudan is a very, very strategic area. Gbogbo airline nísìnyí wọ́n divert ni, it's gonna cost them more because wọ́n máa travel more long distance to get to the destination. Airline tó bá bí dàpọ̀ lọ. If we can able to hold the Nigerian airport for 7 good days or 7 days ní Port Authority without no gun on anything, ká rán lọ síbẹ̀ 1 million of us, ká má jẹ́ corporation ṣẹlẹ̀, ẹ wá rí pé the world will start talking to us. And if you don't want that, then if the Biafra start their own, that's it. If not, Nigerians themselves, it will erupt. Pé kò ní sí protest nínú Nigeria at some point. I don't know when. But there will be a massive protest in Nigeria again to my details as well. Because the youth are very angry. They might not align and agree with us to break up Nigeria, but they are bitter. Bitter, extremely bitter. There might be Igbo people in there, there might be Yoruba people, there might be Hausa people, and it is now a mix of people that is bitter about Nigeria because it is not the kind of time that we all sit down on the bloody, I don't want to use the F word, I take it back. The bloody NTA. Well, nobody's watching NTA anymore. People are now watching the other news to be able to know what is happening in the world. How many people they watch NTA? When they tell lies. Remember when the Igbo people come there, they will block their mouth. Nigbon koton so, what can I say? Relay over ni. And that is how, all these bomb bastards, Abike Dabiri, every one of them make their money. And today they are running up and down. You can see her. She said, go and look at Ikorodu where she's from. No road, no nothing, no water, no facility. But she's running up and down like a yo-yo woman up there. Bomb bastard, every one of you. You definitely.
And throughout the.
And if anybody say I work for APC, kò ní dá fún bàbá tó bí ya yìí tó bàbá tó bí yín èyí lè máa ṣiṣẹ́ fún APC èyí lè máa ṣiṣẹ́ fún PDP èyí lè máa ṣiṣẹ́ fún Labour Party láyé yìí. I am a core Yoruba man. I want Yoruba nation, no blood in Nigeria. Nigeria is not working. It's a failed state and it must break up. If it doesn't break, you will all come out and protest and ask for your right. Just as Showore has been saying. Revolution ẹ̀ máa wáyé kò sọ́gbọ́n ẹ̀.
The leader. Does that concern you? Congressman? Core values. Is what we
core value. We're giving them core value. America is giving people that will go and do core value. And that is why the fight in Sudan is between America and Russia. The fight going on right now in Sudan is between the US and Russia. So, we can see bigger war tó ń bọ̀. Olúkálùkù ló máa gbáradì ni tó bá dé ó dé náà nìyẹn. Ẹni bá máa kú á kú, ẹni bá máa yáyè ni. During the World War II, people died, people survived. Some people survived. They survived. I mean, they might even have disease, chronic disease during the war, but they survived. Because the world is changing. There's a shift in power. And some doesn't want to accept it. So we are dealing with different things. Nigeria is not going to be left around. It's going to happen in Nigeria as well.
With IMA programs. Do we share core values with Colonel Dambuya? Core values. I will repeat that. Core values. I know. Do we share those values with Colonel Dambuya?
Absolutely. In our curriculum.
He let it go.
We do.
Okay, that's a very telling answer. In Burkina Faso, did we share core values?
Another one in Burkina Faso. It's not just one country. America is trading them, then they overthrow the government. And as we are seeing the current situation in Sudan, lives have been lost. We don't pray for anybody to die. But the situation is when countries are fighting each other and then they bring it to our own doorstep is a big problem. And they're bringing it to Africa, bringing it onto our own doorstep.
With the leader that we try.
We only have about just less than 50 more minutes, and I believe I'll open the phone line, but this program is not going to be more than 3 hours. So 15 minutes from now, I'll be ending the program, and probably we'll come back again later in the evening. There might be nobody, body no be rude. From wherever you're watching us, if you're still in belief that Nigeria is working, well, that is good luck to you, not me. Continue to fight for Nigeria. They're there on the social media. Continue to be fighting for Nigeria, wasting your energy, burning your energy. I'm not wasting my time. I am burning my own time and energy to enlighten you gullible idiot that is thinking that Nigeria is going to work. But it is you that you'll be paying, especially in Yoruba. 10 people, Tinubu lo ma wá ṣe fún yín. Tinubu lálàáfíà, kọ́lọ̀ fún lálàáfíà là ń sọ fún yín. He's in Paris. He could not make it to Saudi Arabia for the last 10 days. That is how he's not fit. So if you think that Shetima is not going to be happy, Shetima is happy. It's just waiting. So you will all cry because Tinubu will not be able to resolve the debt of Nigeria in 8 years. Tinubu will not be able to give you what you want in 8 years. Oh yes, some people will make money. I told you that money still move around in Nigeria because we are still making revenue. And part of that revenue, let's leave all this core value, because they're all criminals anyway. So let's quickly come out of this because, we've talked about it before. We can only just talk about it bit by bit every day in the program. So let's look at this graph again. This is what I was telling you that Dangote wants to take out of. So when you look at the import, import, that is something coming into the country, okay? When they say export, that is something that we are taking out of the country. So today, Dangote wants to control part of the refined petroleum. Epo tó ń rà sí better pass your neighbor, Umugo. We cannot even fund our budget. That is the girl that sold her daughter for 600,000 naira. Nobody, that is even how bad it is. We leave her face like that. I'll also continue to talk about this. When Kamala Harris, US government, is pledging $100 million, I want to say, àti dáwó tó pọ̀ jù fún Yorùbá nation. Àti dáwó tó pọ̀ jù fún Yorùbá nation. Lè dáwó kankan mọ́, gbogbo owó tẹ́ ti gbàgbàgbàgbà wà lọ́wọ́ wa. Ìyẹn máa dáwó títí ni. Because, thank you so much, Ìyàwó Ìyábọ̀. Mo kí gbogbo yín lẹ́ẹ̀kan sí Evangelist Taiwo, Ìyàwó Esther, mo tí kì í láàárọ̀ gbogbo yín. Ẹ jẹ́ ká kí àwọn tó wà lórí Mixlr, shout out to every one of you that is with me this morning. Up to the afternoon. Allow Baba to Meta, Benny Comrade Plan B, mad people all over the place. Now go to court, we kill those oppressors. When they call us court, they say go to court. Muki, Mr. Daniel, Akin Games, shout out to you and the rest of you that are with me on the Mixlr. Shout out to those of you, Ibabamida, Dennis, Dayo, Omito, Muki, Muki, Mr. Abdul Stick, Muki Yusuf, Emma Benokwe Sandy, Daddy Lenko, Said Balog, Muki, Mr. Ahmed Mukiyi, Omweku Mukedada Mukibubo, Chinedu Innocent, shout out to you, Ori Biafra, the autopilot especially. If you're not, I saw the bomb bastard, those people that went to go and check whether it is true that the Biafra had a proper office, I think in Maryland, where they're going to be having the Biafra government in exile office. Bomb bastard. I saw a man there go there, want to go and verify whether it's true or false. Moki Boy, Rahim Abbas, shout out to those of you on the Instagram as well, that are with me this afternoon. Not those of you that are believing Yoruba Nation or Biafra, you are not born bastard, but anybody that believes in Nigeria, you are born bastard. As simple as that. Nigeria is good. Nigeria killed now. Nigeria will kill you. So let's come back to this video. But again, remember where we are starting from. It's all about the debt, BC. I told you that you will not get a job. Always love _God. Shout out to you. Muki, our grandma Felicia Ajagbe, Alan Kondi Muki. Your name always sounds like my beautiful my name in the Cora. I love her so much. I don't know why. Because I just love her energy. People go on her page and be abusing her. Hey, why are you dancing naked like this? Bomb bastard. People. I love her so much. Every time I go and watch her, I might not comment. I'm sitting down there, Cora, Obi, may God continue to bless you. Anybody point their finger at you, they go die. Now they go die. Any one of them, you don't know me, I don't know you. But anybody will point finger at you, now they go die. They go die for their own family. Glory Buruku people. Okwefe funny depression. Very hardworking woman. The way she dey dance, I don't like her. Olushi people. You don't like her, but you don't like what she nyash on the breast. Bomb blaster. We love you. We continue to pray for you. We pray for all the Yoruba people that believe in Yoruba nation. And if you still believe in one Nigeria killing you. Borderline. KOKIMEDIA team. Continue to support us if you can. It's voluntary. You don't have to support us if you don't want to. Pastor Mo, very good afternoon to you. Tabani bomb bastard. We're not talking to those of you on this platform. We're talking to those that are disagreeing with Babakitoye, those that disagree with IGBOHO, and those that disagree with the genuine media that are fighting every day to enlighten you. You're all bomb bastard. Hey, team Miss Bupo Yawajari, about Lennon. Moki Wena Consi, Aziz, Miami Moki. Let's go back quickly and listen more to this video. Like I said, about Yokuro. So far, YouTube has not asked me to remove it, but if they do, at least you can always
check it out on yourself. It's on World Funny Video. And the title is Africa at the Center of a New Cold War? Let's go further.
Take Mali, which has had 2 coups and is therefore in the bad books of the West because it's not democratic. So to be honest, when it was democratic, I don't know what good that did the people in Mali. When I went there, they didn't seem to be benefiting from democracy.
Just like Nigeria. But at least, what to lay on French law. How is it going to be better? You know the truth. All these women as well. French. And that's why there's a fight going on in France as we speak right now. They are fighting back to back. I saw it on Ogechuku Lenkoye. Because things are not going according to plan with them anymore. Things are not going according to plan. Gbogbo Africa 10 low. Look at this headline again. Report Zelensky and the entourage embezzle at least $400 million from the US aid sent to Ukraine, according to Simon Ash report. Ukraine President Zelensky, together with the senior government official, about 35 generals, have embezzled what the CIA estimate is about $400 million aid fund meant to buy diesel fuel. I told you that they need diesel to continue to fight a war, and that is why every petrol that we are selling out of Nigeria, Dangote now wants to be the one controlling it. So when Dangote refine it, instead of us sending the crude oil, Dangote, he won't be able to do everything. Even if he wants to, because it will be fight between different countries and different cabal. So they will tell Dangote that no, you can take the one from Africa, but the one coming to us, we still want to refine it because we're gonna lose job for our people. But Dangote, I can tell you, by the time the refinery is in full operation, Dangote will control more of refined produce that it will then sell out again, and it will become more people that have money. But the fight going on currently is all about the resources. And if you look at French today, according to Okechuku, as Kama goes besieged in France, so protests have gone on for months in France over the so-called pension reform, which raises retirement age from 62 to 64. In after 63 years of a failed country, you are still praying to God. God is going to come. But Amara Paris, I won't do the God. All because they tell them that they will be 64 years before they can retire. Some of them are not even up to 62 years. They are already fighting. You continue to say you are waiting for IGBOHO. Continue to say you are waiting for Baba Akintoye. Àwọn ọmọ kékèké ló ṣì ń jà lọ́wọ́lọ́wọ́ ní Paris. And it's still going on, and it's going on, and it's going on. And there's a lot of video evidence in there. You can go and watch it as well. But what are we trying to say is that we have been going through problems. Look at this girl man. Tí bá ní kó jáde fún protest nísìnyí, I know when he jáde. A ní kí n send owó sóhun. Not sending money to anybody. Báyà yín ẹ̀ jáde. Yàtọ̀ sí pé àwọn bàbá bá ti já pé I need owó fún kan mi. Yes, I'm gonna come out and promote that. But pé a fẹ́ send owó sí kẹfí ṣe kankan. Ẹ bá máa jáde. Ló bá yẹ ìjáde sí títì. Kò tí kan gbogbo wa dáadáa ni. Àtẹni tó believe in Yoruba nation, àtẹni tó believe, everybody go come out. Má bínú, I just love, that's a bad habit, but I'm just used to that now. Mo kí gbogbo alẹ́ nǹkan sọ because tá a bá ti ń sọ̀rọ̀ ìtẹ́wá máa ń gbẹni. So mo kí Mr. Abiodun Ayodele, mo kí Miss Gold, welcome on board Ìyàwó Alájírè. So you can see that the fight continue. Ìjà ń lọ rẹpẹrẹpẹ. You can see it there. At the moment, demonstrations are taking place in more than 300 French cities. Irú nǹkan tá à ń sọ lélẹ̀. You can see the map. Mélòó lọ́lọ́pàá fẹ́ ṣe? 300 cities ni protest ti ń go on. Tẹ́mi bá ní ká jáde ní gbogbo ilẹ̀ Yorùbá nísìn, àárín Koiki send owó sí wa, a máa ra omi, a máa ra this. Look at it is going on. 300 different cities ni wọ́n ti ń protest. And this was part of what we wanted to do last year until this Yawere today to that gbogbo ẹ̀rù. 300 people, 300 cities. And I still have the record there. I always tell you, bàbá o ẹ má ká ṣe bẹ́ẹ̀, ẹ jẹ́ ká jáde ní ojú kan. I keep going back to my record where Baba Akintoye told us as far back as 8th of October 2022. The question was asked, can Baba please clarify how àwọn tó máa bèrè question yẹn nínú yàrá wọn? I mean sometimes ẹlòmíì tá a tún bèrè question orí bẹ́ẹ̀ ló tún máa jókòó. I mean some of us don't even take the movement serious. Wọ́n máa ṣe Zoom meeting, wọ́n wà lórí bed. Wọ́n máa ṣe Zoom meeting because wọ́n sọ wọ́n feel pé the energy yẹn is there.
yàtọ̀ sẹ́ni tó bá síkò ẹ̀rọ máa ṣọ́nà ẹlòmíì àtọ kámẹ́rà ẹlòmíì ẹ máa sọ̀rọ̀ nínú zoom ìgbà ló máa sọ̀rọ̀ jágbájágbá ìgbà ló máa sọ̀rọ̀ ọ̀rọ̀ nonsense wọ́n máa fi tí wọ́n distract gbogbo yàn ẹ lọ sínú zoom meeting oríṣiríṣi nonsense and jagbajantis lè máa bá níbẹ̀. wọ́n béèrè lọ bàbá can baba please clarify ọ̀rọ̀ Yorùbá nation ọba ti ní ìlọsíwájú jù báyìí lọ. wọ́n bí bàbá ní October 8, 2022 kí ìyá Dagboru tó wá sọ pé òun declare ní ìlú 20th of November. bàbá ní you take over your town don't go to the state capital. kí lè rò pé àwọn eléyìí ṣe yín sìn ẹlòmíì inú town wọn lọ ti ń protest ẹgbẹ́ kan tó sọ 300 French cities ni wọ́n ti ń protest kò ń ṣe lójú kan and lára protest Koiki ẹ má jó kan àwọn eléyìí kan àwọn eléyìí lórí méjì ṣé àwọn eléyìí ní orí méjì ẹwùrán àdé better off ẹwùrán àwọn tó ń jàjà yìí nísìn wọ́n ti pé 62 o but wọ́n ti ń jà sílẹ̀ pé òfin tó ń ṣe yìí kò ní bá wọn lára mu 1999 constitution is there nobody is fighting about it and everybody just think that 1999 constitution Tinubu will come and use that to fix your life mad people all over the place ẹwùrán did you see that ṣáwọn ilé ní orí méjì I don't promote violence but when it's happen it's going to happen and there's nothing like peaceful protest in the world tábà sọ fún ẹ pé kan wà peaceful is a lie the West cannot be telling us we should go and be doing peaceful protest when in France they are not doing anything called peaceful protest you can see it there torí náà. And all this is happening in a civilized society where they have water, they have roads, they have education, but they are not happy that their government is putting a reform wey káwọn lọ ṣiṣẹ́ títí di 64 years. Àwọn ò fẹ́ ṣiṣẹ́ títí di 64 years old. It is 62. Ẹ má tún yín. Just increase for 2 years is what is fighting and they've been going on like that for months. Àwa ṣe rally jọ kan, wọ́n ti yìnbọn sókè, everybody ti sá lọ. Koiki shut up, o lè jókòó sí London kí wọ́n máa pariwo. Ṣé gbogbo ọmọ France ló máa lọ́lé nísìn láti lọ jà? Ṣé àwọn ọmọ France tó wà ní UK máa lọ́lé? No! Ìtọ́ bá lè ṣe lọ́mọ máa ṣe. Tó bá yá everybody máa jẹ breakfast. So let's leave that and come back to this video again one more time.
See, they seem to be as poor and miserable as ever. And the French were in there, and they went in, Operation Barkhane in 20.
Jenny, nobody's promoting violence here, but we are saying that, for us to get to where we want, we will go and do peaceful protest. And peaceful protest, like Martin Mobi, or the violent protest, or the peaceful, or because the peaceful, it will be subject to Tolopa Bafunyo. Definitely, we know it's not going to be as different as in France, but we will defend ourselves with whatever we have. And that was what Baba proposed in October last year. But gbogbo cities ni àwọn kan tó jáde èrò nípò no I need èrò púpọ̀ and it kind of shut gbogbo everywhere down. If we have 20 local governments in Lagos and we are running protests in all the 20 local government. If we have 33 local government and we are running protests in all the 33 local government in Oyo State, Ogun State 20, we are running protests in all the local government in Ogun State, 18 state local government in Ondo State, and we are running the same thing. Osun State 30, Kwara 16, Ekiti 16, Kogi 21. Ibo lè rò pé government máa ti ní power yẹn láti stop gbogbo wa. The government doesn't have that power. Mélòó ni gbogbo security Nigeria? A máa strain wọn ni tàbá wà lójú kan náà ló ṣe ń di pé wọ́n ń defeat wa lọ́yìnbọn sókè lọ́pa gbogbo àlọ́lọ́ káwọn tó máa yá dànù but tàbá wà káàkiri ìgbà mi ó lè má ju 20 lọ ìgbà mi ó lè má ju 10 lọ tèbí tí bàbá ṣe sọ pé á lè easy ẹni tó fẹ́ sáré padà lọ sílé lọ mú kankan á padà lọ ní àtúpadà wá ẹni tó fẹ́ lọ sí títì á lọ àtúpadà wá but tó bá ti di pé à ń lọ sí Lagos Mr. Koiki ṣe máa send owó mọ́tò sí wa á send owó mọ́tò kò kúrò nínú ilé ẹ̀ inú bí apalọ̀ ló wà. Bastard.
13 to push the jihadists back, and I remember being there and everybody was waving French flags. They were so keen on France, which was...
We are just 35 minutes before the end of the program. At exactly 1 p.m. I will end this live transmission and we can then say a very good afternoon.
Helping them defeat the jihadists, and the jihadists were horrible and they really treated people incredibly badly. Now they're waving Russian flags and France was forced to leave. France is now seen as a terrible colonial power. You look at Burkina Faso, there was a
bad colonial power. She won't she bad.
In Burkina Faso. And once again, they're waving Russian, not French flags. I have to say, actually, all you have to do is you've got the same colours, haven't you? So you just have to change it from going vertical stripes to horizontal. So if you've got the wrong flag, it's not too difficult to change it. But the point is that these governments, what are they getting from Russia? Well, they're getting money from Russia for the elites. And they're not being told off about their human rights records.
So, and what West the ones of any human rights? Nnamdi Kanu has been there for more than 2 years now. The West, the UK government have not done enough to get him out of the prison. And Obosen try to play narrative here. They play the narrative to just suit their own kind of conversation. Only our Russia don't care about human rights. Our West don't care about human rights. So you don't take everything from these people, but it is just important that we listen to their own perspective. Just as
the environmental, anything like that at all. And they can let the Russian Wagner group go and do what it wants to. And they
Wagner group, these are the machineries that a lot of people know that work for Russia, but America, UK, and other countries, they have their own as well.
They've had some success defeating the jihadis. I'm not sure about that, but we can certainly say that the French failed to defeat the jihadis. And the UN, it didn't work. Jihadis are still strong.
Jihadis are always strong, very, very powerful, because one needs support. And that support has always been there. If you go back and listen to, the late Dr. Malafia, he told us that they have funding. Let's listen to him one more time. May so continue to rest in peace.
Which is it for yourself, Obadiah? Do you think the government is unwilling or unable to protect the people of South Africa?
It is unwilling, and we have good reason to feel that they are part and parcel of the killers.
Right there. So the government is part and parcel of the killers. Part and parcel of the killers. And if any Nigerian is still hoping that you are waiting for another government to come and rescue you, well, I wish you best of luck. Because we know that no government is coming to rescue you. They are all the same. It does not matter whether it's Tinubu. It does not matter whether it's Buhari that is leaving. They've all been the same. So let's move quickly, as we are now, time is really, really running very fast. And I still want us to get a little bit from these because I finished any and no, maybe we can finish it today.
We've talked about the Russians. What about the Chinese when it comes to what they're doing, especially militarily when it comes to the continent of Africa? We talked about them having military drills with the Russians and the South Africans. But I
thank you to those of you on the Twitter space. We couldn't be coming on Twitter lately. I don't know what has happened with my producer, which allows me to stream it from the laptop and the software. I don't know what that's going, but I can stream it from my mobile phone. It's very, very inconvenient, but we'll try and see if we can continue to stream through the Twitter platform as well.
Opened their first military facility outside
Thank you so much.
Side of China in Djibouti. So what are they thinking?
Well, Djibouti, it's a bit crowded, Djibouti, with all these different military facilities. Of course, the French have been there forever, and then there's the Americans. So that is a very strategic position in the Horn of Africa there between, Africa and the Middle East, and looking out over the Indian Ocean. But for the Chinese, I think their interest is still primarily commercial and economic. So you look at Russia, it provides almost no foreign direct investment, less than 1% of Africa's foreign direct investment. But China is a really major partner for African countries when it comes to trade and when it comes to investment. And they're doing an awful lot on building infrastructure, on building roads, on building rail, on building hotels, on building airports. And, you want a road built in your country. The Russians aren't going to do it. The West is going to be far too expensive anyway. They have all those pesky environment thingamybobs that you have to do first. Chinese are coming in, they'll build your road, and it'll be a good road.
What's China's thinking there? Is it completely benevolent in saying, look, we'll build your roads and your bridges and whatever and ensure that you can get from A to B? Or is it double-sworded in the sense that they're also thinking about those are also going to help us extract certain minerals, whatever, that we need to grow our economy?
Well, I think it's both, and they would call that win-win, and that's what one of the phrases that the Chinese often use, that this is win-win. And I think that it's also about Chinese companies, because this is money for Chinese companies. If you provide aid to an African country for a road, but it's the Chinese company that's building the road.
Did you hear that? And that is why you go to every part of Nigeria today, you find more Chinese contractors on the ground, and you are just a laborer trying to make ends meet.
Then that's an investment in your own company as well as in Africa. And I think at first there was a lot of complaints when I first started to look at this in the mid-2000s, around 2006. There were a lot of complaints by African countries about Chinese labour being brought in instead of them.
And those labourers are prisoners in China, so they are not losing anything.
Providing employment for people in different African countries. I think that's changed to some extent, and I think that there are a lot more. They do create a lot more jobs than they used to. They used to create. At the beginning, I think the West's view of Chinese investments in Africa was very colonial. And
there was a colony as well. You guys colonized us. You kept us in this problem. You kept us in this unification, especially Nigeria as a country. And we need to unbundle it. So, yes, we know that Chinese are almost the same thing as the West. So both of you are all the same. But if we have a different sovereign nation, we can decide and reroute how we want to have relationship with any international country. Like I said, but at least it is important that we get their own views, which is different from what you might think that I've been telling you in 3 years. In 3 years, they will do so. But because they look at them as much important than us, Foreign News is not going to invite me to come and talk. So when later I said I want China to colonize one and then so bloody war. I want UK colonize one. UK done slave on earth for thousands of years. They end up, say slave trade is done. Then gave us a country called Nigeria, which nobody agreed to. I don't think it was the Igbo people that agreed that they wanted Nigeria. It's not that Yoruba people wanted it. It was a force on every one of us, and we must unbundle that unification. Even after the 1914 amalgamation, we did not get independent. We have to now fight and fight and fight. When Awolowo, the Zik, the Saudano, then gave us, that independent. Some say, it is the Igbo people that destroyed, the regional government. Bomb bastard. Let us first talk about the 1914 amalgamation and leave the independent, because as of the independent, all they were all lasting for was, and let us just move away and have control of our own resources. Today, nobody has the control because Dangote, Rabiu, Mike Adenuga are the new set of the slave people that have been using on top of us to create what they call the new slave mentality. And if you go and look at them, the Dangote, the Rabiu and every one of them, they are the new set of people, that they are using. From the Gilbert Shagori, the Rabiu, and every one of them. Criminals all over the place. And you can see them there. And then you look at this picture, you don't know that this is the new slave trade that we are encountering in 2023. And you are telling me that you don't have a job. How are you going to have a job when the French president is standing next to a criminal guy called Gilbert Shagori? You have it there, you have all the others there, and these are the new players in the market. And when this woman is talking that, the Chinese, no, it's not just the Chinese, we even have the bomb bastard Nigerians that are also part of the new people that are being used for the slave trade.
It was like, well, what are these people doing coming here when we own this part of the world? And the answer is, hey, these people have a lot to offer. African countries need this investment in this infrastructure, and the Chinese are the people who are offering it at a reasonable price. But something has come up in the last year or so, which is about debt.
Muki Yawa Amana. You heard that? Debt. BC. The more the Chinese are pumping money there, the more Ayewa Kolonjekuda Imafenumi Sonkom Befuni Atemi. Muki Yawa Christina. So when I talk about the debt and part of the debt the 600,000 naira, which is about just less than 655 pounds and about $600 in the US. Muki our first bank. So Taba Padiwope, Yoruba nation, you idiot, don't understand. Ìyá ìfẹ́ gbẹ́nulé debt nísìn, gbèsè tí a jẹ pẹ̀lú China, òun ló ń lọ lọ́nkàn yẹn. 40 years from now, it is on gbèsè yẹn tán because as you service ẹni, That is why we started with this conversation about 2 hours ago or 2.5 hours. Go to the Patulo Sister Radio. Nigeria is spending 96.3% of revenue. Revenue means with owó tí à ń pa tó ń wọlé sí Nigeria. Àwa ná 96.3%. In a layman kí n ṣàlàyé fún ẹ òmùgọ̀ owó tó dá kọ́kọ́ mọ̀. 100 naira lélẹ́yìí. So every 100 naira tí Nigeria ń pa, àwa mú nínú ẹ̀ mo lè ya díẹ̀ ní owó yìí. So wá rí nísìn, àwa yọ díẹ̀ nínú ẹ̀ báyìí. Torí pé owó yẹn kò level mọ́ nísìn. Torí pé ó ti di app. So eléyìí kékeré yìí ni Nàìjíríà mú dání sọ́wọ́, èyí tó kù ní Nàìjíríà ṣe kí ni, òun ni Nàìjíríà wá ṣe kí ni, òun ni wọ́n san fún debt. Àwọn wo ló ń san debt yẹn fún? Ṣé báwọn tí wọ́n bá fún wa lówó náà ni? À ń yáwó lọ́wọ́ China. So ṣé owó tá à ń yá lọ́wọ́ China yẹn, ṣé ìyá mi ló máa fi gbà? Ṣé bàbá mi ló máa fi gbà? Inú resources Nàìjíríà náà ni. And that is what some of you don't understand. So ìwọ tó bá wo age anything, I am 40 plus. So mo sọ fún yín pé by the time tí ẹ bá rò pé Tinubu máa wá ṣe dáadáa fún yín, ẹ jẹ́ ká jọ calculated. While I am here, you are there, I will be 52 years old. Kọ́lọ̀ kó fún gbogbo alálàáfíà. Ṣé ayé ẹ máa better in another 8 years? Ká tó sọ pé ayé ọ̀ better in 8 years of Buhari because olórí burúkú bomb bastard Fúlàní nìyẹn, dead or alive. Ṣé Tinubu máa jẹ́ kí ayé ẹ kó san sókè díẹ̀ ju ti Buhari lọ? Ẹnu ìlú gbogbo àjọ wà. Let's go back here.
And some of these infrastructure projects are financed by debt.
You hear that? Some of the projects are financed by debt.
These people have a lot to offer. African countries need this investment in this infrastructure. And
there's nothing wrong in bringing investment. What is real? What is this? There's nothing wrong in that. But the question is, it is the process. And I think I saw somewhere where they were, on news in tí wọ́n ní and generate 800 and something billion, I don't know, or million pẹ̀lú rail track olórí burúkú tí wọ́n gbé wá tí kò ṣiṣẹ́ tí táwọn terrorists ń blow ní gbogbo gbà. Mo kí bàbá wa Adétutù Ìjádóyè, mo kí Jayajaya, mo kí gbogbo ẹ̀yin Yorùbá nation lovers, and if you're in Nigeria, good luck to you. Mo kí bàbá wa Adéníyì Adéjùbúrò, mo kí gbogbo ilẹ̀ kan sí Yàwá Sekinat, mo kí Àfáà Fọlọ́runṣọ́, Ramadan ti ń lọ díẹ̀díẹ̀, mo kí gbogbo alẹ́ nǹkan. Ẹ̀gbọ́n mi Ọmọgbọ́láhàn Albert, mo kàn padà sẹ́yìn, ẹ̀gbọ́n mi Simon Adébísí, Coastal Region Liberation, ìyàwó Funky Togala, thank you so much. Akeem Ayọ̀délé, mo kí ìyá mi dáadáa lọ́mọ rárá, Ìyábọ̀ Àjàlá, mo kí gbogbo ọmọ Yorùbá tó ń ṣiṣẹ́ takuntakun. Ìyàwó Grace Olúṣọ̀tọ̀ sọ pé abject poverty is the national anthem in Nigeria now. It needs urgent attention so that ní máa ríro eléyìí mọ́ ìrọ̀lẹ́ lápá, a máa ríro ẹ̀. Because how can a 33 years old ó gbé ọmọ síkùn for 9 months nítorí gbèsè tó jẹ, ó ta ọmọ yẹn ní 600,000 naira nílẹ̀ Yorùbá? Mo kí dáadáa ìyàwó Fọláṣadé Òjó. So going on to say, Nigeria, it needs urgent attention. Enough of the treat and trick. Hey, Sanwo-Olu o, hey, Sanwo-Olu o, Mákindé o. It's all about the treat and trick. Tó bá mọ̀ tán pè ní treat ni pé kí n fún ẹ ní sweet nísìn, but trick ni pé sweet yẹn wàá pọ̀, ó máa pọ̀ by force. And that is exactly what is happening. So today, debt gbèsè Nigeria òun ló lọ lọ́nkàn yẹn. And that's why we cannot fund our own budget. Lè fund the budget wa because we don't have the means to fund the budget. And kàkà kí debt yẹn máa wá sílẹ̀, kò lè wá sílẹ̀ because olórí burúkú Fúlàní tẹ́ ń pè ní Buhari. All his dealings, ó kàn gbà lóhùn. Kò dẹ̀ lè sọ fún wa pé government wọn wà corrupt. Evidence is there. The most corrupt government, Kàmá sọ pé PDP were there for 16 years. Eléyìí ti fẹ́ lò 16 years on his own. Because for the first 8 months, àmọ́bi tí Buhari wà, Fẹ́mi Adésínà told us as well in an interview he granted to Channels Television 2 weeks ago Sunday. Only the first 8 months of Buhari was a disaster. Olórí burúkú ẹ̀. Ìyí nísìn bàbá tọ̀lé kọ́lọ̀ fún lálàáfíà, èmi ò gbàdúrà kó fún. Ó wà ní Paris nísìn tó ń gun lábẹ́rẹ́. Tó ń ṣe oríṣiríṣi fún pé kókò lè fit kọ́tẹ̀lì máa present ẹ̀ kó ṣàkà ọmọ wa gbádá káwọn mídíà máa sọ̀rọ̀ kíṣẹ̀ tí máa dẹ̀ máa control government. Wọ́n ọ̀dẹ̀ jẹ́ kí Ọ̀ṣínbàjò control government yẹn, why ètò olórí burúkú yìí wà sí wọ́n hijack government mọ́ short man devil yẹn lọ́wọ́ because wọ́n ní balls. Because gbogbo time tí Buhari sick tí kò lè ṣe government yẹn, Ọ̀ṣínbàjò ló yẹ kó máa control government but wọ́n fún láyè, wọ́n block it. And that's why he has to keep coming to London láti wá sign document lọ́wọ́ Buhari. Ṣé government náà nìyẹn? and you expect Tinubu reverse section náà ló tún máa rí because Tinubu will be there like a lame dog akọ̀jókòó sórí chair oya baba àti fẹ́ ya picture mo fi bá àwọn yẹn ẹ má gba question no baba kò sí question lẹ́yìn akọ̀ ya picture boom agbè sórí social media adéjókòó síbẹ̀ a máa sọ̀rọ̀ kò jẹ́ pé kò ní strength but kò lè ní strength yẹn bí ìgbà tó wà ní 1999 tí brain ẹ̀tẹ̀ ṣì dàbí tó fẹ́ jalè because àmọ̀ kò lè ló jà ní gbogbo Lagos state Koiki fi sílẹ̀ ọmọ Nàìjíríà Yorùbá ní tèmi kò tẹ̀ kó lọ sẹ́niwẹ̀ ọ̀dẹ̀ òmùgọ̀ ìyẹn lẹ ṣe ń gbélé face me I face you ò lè gbélé dáadáa face me I face you born bastard ẹ jẹ́ mo yóò yà nínú 8 years afẹ́ gbogbo àjẹfẹ́ wọnú ẹ̀ yìí. Let's come back here again.
The Chinese are the people who are offering it at a reasonable price. But something has come up in the last year or so, which is about debt.
Debt. Tó bá mọ̀ tán pé ní debt, jẹ́ n ṣàlàyé fún ẹ ọ̀dẹ̀. Wọ́n mi ẹ̀ lẹ́ ṣàlàyé fún ẹ debt. Gbogbo ẹ̀ ló máa ń jẹ debt. Èmi náà ti jẹ debt rí. Kò sí kankan tó wrong in debt. But tó bá jẹ gbèsè, o gbọ́dọ̀ mọ bó ṣe fẹ́ máa san. O lè ṣe arrangement pẹ̀lẹ́ ní ẹ pé mo yá £5,000 lọ́wọ́ ẹ̀ ṣe máa san ní £1. Ó máa pẹ́ wà kí jẹ́ ṣáà máa san díẹ̀díẹ̀. Kò sí nǹkan tó ràn kíyàn kílù jẹ gbèsè but wọ́n jẹ gbèsè tí àwọn tó fi ṣe béèrè lọ́wọ́ gbogbo àwọn lórí burúkú Yorùbá politician gbogbo owó tó ti yá tó fi ṣe project wọ́n náà fi ṣe project láti jọ́ tó ti padà sí 1999 látòrí Tinubu kí ló fi ṣe kí ló ń pè ní. tá bá sọ pé tá bá ní lẹ́ẹ̀kan sí a sum of money that is owed or due Koiki ṣo lè sáré yá mi lówó and you don't need ibi dẹ̀ ń pa àwọn ọmọ mi ó dà mo ní 1,500 màá yá yín 5 ẹ̀ ṣe yá mi ní 1 mi náà máa jáde ó yá jẹ́ ní 1,000 but ó máa dá padà ìgbà tó máa dá padà next week tó níṣẹ́ lọ́wọ́ ó fẹ́ gba 1,000 naira lọ́wọ́ yín ó promise next week ó ti rò pé next week yẹn òun á lọ ṣiṣẹ́ pọ́npọ́n àwọn tó máa ń ru pọ́npọ́n ẹ̀ sí àwọn tó ń ru pọ́npọ́n because that's the basic job tẹ́lẹ̀ rí ní Nàìjíríà anybody ló lè lọ sí any site wọ́n kàn máa dùn ẹni wọ́n máa dùn ẹni látòkè délẹ̀ ni anybody can walk to a site ní Nàìjíríà wọ́n bá wọn rú pọ́npọ́n wọ́n wá fún ní 1,000 naira 1,000 tó gbà yẹn ó ti gbà pé kó jẹ́ gbèsè tẹ́mi bá wá bí ẹni oh they promise me ẹni má bínú so kò sí ọkọ̀ tó wrong nínú debt èèyàn lè yá gbèsè bó o gbọ́dọ̀ san padà bó gbèsè Nàìjíríà nísìn àìtí san gbèsè a ṣe ń sábìsẹ̀ ní sábìsì ni ó dàbí àwọn tó ń gbé ní service apartment kó tó gbogbo ilẹ̀ lè gbé níbẹ̀ ṣé wọ́n tó ń gbé ní face my face ló fẹ́ gbé ní service apartment mo kí Abraham Black mo kí yàrá Nikki Decent Ẹ̀bùn Yusuf mo fi tọ̀wọ̀tọ̀ mo fi kí ọ̀bímilá kí n dárúkọ anybody anyhow. àwa ń sọ pé Nàìjíríà ó ti dòkú òkú ní Nàìjíríà ẹ̀gbọ́n wa kan ní ìjẹta nísìn Ọlọ́run bá ń fọ̀rún kẹ́ àbúrò wọn wọ́n send owó lọ sí Nàìjíríà wọn ò rí hospital láti fi tọ́jú ẹ̀ wọ́n náà gbé dé hospital kan wọn ní kò sí bẹ́ẹ̀ the next hospital kan tó dé ló kú nígbà tó tún gbé lọ sí mọ́ṣúárì wọ́n kàn ju bọ́dì sílẹ̀ lẹ̀ is that a life? ẹ jẹ́ mo yóò yà ni mo sọ fún yín. Let's come back here.
And some of these infrastructure projects are financed by debt. And some African countries, notably Zambia, have defaulted on the debt.
Yeah, but in default. About that in default. Kilo mashele. Ọmọ teki. So, gbèsè tí Buhari yá tó ń yá, kí làwọn nǹkan tó fi ṣe collateral? Ṣé àwa Nigerians ló fi ṣe collateral ni gbogbo àwa Nigerians? Àbí wọ́kọ̀ ló kan náà àwọn resources tí Nàìjíríà ní ọ̀dà China tábà ti rí gbèsè yìí san mo kí bàbá wa Gani Olóyèdè Lateef mo kí Bámidélé mo kí yín Mr. Bukaila ẹni well done king of media ibi ìbàdàn ti máa kọ́ nǹkan tó máa yé yín ẹ fi gbogbo àwọn jágbàjàgbà sílẹ̀ tó ọ̀dà kankan mọ̀ ẹ wá gbọ́ the reason why Nigeria is backward the reason why we need to go the reason why our projection is still ongoing. Yorùbá nation ti kú and America náà sì fi san 100 million láti fi bá terrorist jà òun lè lè ibi kọ́ mo sọ Kamala Harris káàkiri àwọn ilé ní kí n san owó tí bá ní kẹ́ dáwó fèmí nísìn bá ní Koiki béèrè owó The Wall Street Journal ó ní kẹ́mi tó lè máa ká átíkù mo gbọ́dọ̀ san £2 láti subscribe £2 every month níbo mo ti fẹ́ máa rí àbí €2 tàbádẹ́ ní káwọn èèyàn sọ ẹ support Koiki media ẹni béèrè owó ní gbogbo gbà ọmọ àlè kan tẹ́ sọ fún mi pé kí ló dé tí account details mi ṣe ń school bàbá ẹ̀ ní kó wá bí lórí burúkú born bastard etí àti jẹ ó ń bi mí pé kí ló dé tí mo rí nínú comment kan pé why is it that ó dárúkọ tèmi ó dà kó dárúkọ tọmọ olúkà náà born bastard ṣé wọn kí ba lóye sọ tèmi sọ fún yín ṣé wọn kí ba lóye tẹ́ pé wọ́n ti mú ẹ̀pọ̀n ìmọ̀bi tó jókòó sí yẹn gbogbo wọn lọ́mọ bá ṣe ń ṣe pàdípàdé wọn brown envelope ní gbogbo wọn pàdí mi ni gbogbo wọn ní brown envelope Rafiu Oseni yẹn ló sì máa ń gbà sí fún wọn ìyẹn lọ ṣe fẹ́ lọ sí Arise ìyẹn máa ń sọ òtítọ́ máa ń kan abẹ níkò ni gbogbo àwọn bomb bastard journalist tó wà Nàìjíríà jẹ́ pé brown envelope ni wọ́n òfin ìpèsè media easy ni ṣé o expect pé CNN máa sọ gbogbo tèmi sọ fún ẹ̀yin kí ni kan CNN pẹ̀lú tó ń lọ nílẹ̀ ọ̀hún rẹ̀ rí oníkọ́ dáwó oníkọ́ sanwó €2 every month per month láti lè ka pépà yìí nísìn because wọ́n bí lè pè wọ́n tó fi wá kà wọ́n fún wa ní díẹ̀ jẹ nínú ẹ̀ torí pé wọ́n fún mi ní díẹ̀ jẹ nínú ẹ̀ náà tí bá ní mo fẹ́ ka ìdókò nísìn ó ní kí n subscribe so tí bá máa subscribe nísìn ọ̀rọ̀ àgbà owó lọ́wọ́ mi ṣorí ràn ó ní san £2 a month for 1 year àbí kí n san £4 kí n tún fi ní market watch yẹn gẹ̀rẹ́ lọ́ọ́ fi ń control gbogbo resources in Nigeria yes Rufai Oseni ìyẹn tẹ̀ good dáadáa ìyẹn máa ń sọjú abẹ nípò ni wọ́n ń bi mí ó ní kí ló dé tí àkáǹtì mi tó máa ń lọ lókè tó lọ níbọ̀ èyí tẹ̀ dá kankan mọ̀ illiterate ìyẹn náà lẹ ṣe ń ta ọmọ yín ní 600,000 ẹ̀rọ ojú ẹ̀ bó ṣe níbẹ̀ tó ti fa gbóyún. So let's go back again, let's see if I can get a video of Kamala Harris. Harris pledges ẹ jẹ́ ká bẹ́ẹ̀ bá kúkú ṣáà ká kí ni ẹ jẹ́ ká èrè fine woman ìyá dáadáa kò rere fídíò ẹni mọ̀ wá bí ààrẹ Kamala Harris sódà fún òlélẹ̀ ẹ̀yà gbọ́n tó sọ Kamala Harris oya
is pushing to strengthen ties with
at least oṣaari déètì níbẹ̀ March 24 last month náà ṣe ní CBS òjáde Koiki CBS yìí nísìn àwọn lówó lọ́wọ́ so tó bá ráwọn tó ráwọn bọ́ ọ̀rọ̀ yẹn fresh tó ráwọn woman yẹn wọ́n ní aṣọ tó ìyàwó mi ní gbogbo àwọn mídíà yìí náà ní collection aṣọ tó ń wọ̀ wọ́n ní repeat aṣọ wọ́n ti àwọn tó ń fún wọn láṣọ wà ẹni kò ìjà àfún ẹ nìkan pé ò sọ̀rọ̀ ìyá ẹ̀ mọ́ kò ní dá fún yín gbogbo ẹ̀dẹ̀ bá ní fún mi nìkan pé mo sọ̀rọ̀ ìyá ẹ̀ mọ́ bomb bastard ní gbogbo yín ṣeré ni mo wá ń ṣe látijọ́ yìí for 3 years mo sọ fún yín pé tí bá lọ ṣiṣẹ́ waiter màá pa 1,700 every month gbogbo ẹ̀ tẹ́ ń fún wa àdúpẹ́ lọ́wọ́ yín bomb bastard ẹ̀jẹ̀ àgbọ̀n tó sọ CBS owó burúkú wà lọ́wọ́ àwọn eléyìí wọ́n dábọ̀ ọ̀dẹ̀ níbà wá sọ̀rọ̀ Yorùbá nation òtún wọ́n sọ̀rọ̀ Kamala Harris ní sígbà tẹ́ pé president vice president wọn wọ́n gbọ́dọ̀ tẹ̀lé káàkiri ó lé tí wọ́n make ẹ lọ wo revenue CBS.
Several Central African countries.
Vice President Kamala Harris will kick off a trip to the continent this weekend. She'll make stops in Ghana, Tanzania, and Zambia during the week-long visit. Vice President's agenda is
ó kúrò ní Ghana kò yà sí Nàìjíríà ó fly lọ Tanzania àti Namibia ó dẹ̀ padà lọ sí America ẹ wo bí tí Nàìjíríà wà the giant of Africa ṣèbí máàpù alẹ́lẹ́ ẹlẹ́gbẹ̀ẹ́ Ghana yìí àbí máàpù akọ́ni yẹn so kí ló dé tí kò lọ sí Nàìjíríà.
To include promoting democracy and food security.
CBS News political.
bí ẹ rò pé mídíà máa sọ àwọn ọmọ sọ fún yín pé ilé ìtẹ̀mí ṣe beauty ni tí bá tún jáde ní lálẹ́ the same thing ni ó beauty ni. Because this is what I have loved to do tẹ́lẹ̀ gbẹ́dọ̀ Nàìjíríà òṣìwò Nàìjíríà tó gbádùn ẹ lọ fídíò mi tí mo ṣe ní 5 years ago nínú forest Ogun State ọ̀nà tẹ̀lé ní Fúlàní òjòlú ẹ̀ gbé lọ níjọ́ náà lọ ẹnu ìjọba tẹ̀ máa jí mi gbé ní wọ́n try gan náà ṣẹlẹ̀ àwọn ẹ̀gbọ́n rìn lásán máa jí mi gbé àpárá wa síbẹ̀ ni.
Contributor Ashley Etienne joins us now from our DC bureau. She was also Vice President Kamala Harris's communications director. Always great to have you with us, Ashley.
Kamala Harris communication director. Àwọn èèyàn lélẹ̀ tó bá dẹ̀ lọ́wọ́ agent nísìn ṣebí nǹkan tí bàbá Akíntóyè sọ nìyẹn ṣé ìwọ lè jẹ́ communication director Mákindé kò ṣe kó máa lọ lọ́bì títí ọ̀rẹ́ nígbè fún ẹ. À ń sọ pé say there is opportunity sórí ní state kọ̀ọ̀kan ní gbogbo local government tí mo kà sí nǹkan yẹn Lagos state 20 Ọ̀yọ́ 33 Ogun state 20 Ondo 18 Ọ̀ṣun 30 Kwara 16 Èkìtì 16 Kogi 21 each of those local government yẹn láti máa ṣe government tiwa so ìwọ náà máa participate ìwọ tó bá dẹ̀ fẹ́ ṣe government tó fẹ́ ṣe politics wàá lọ máa ṣe business wàá máa ṣe ó lè ṣe NGO kò ṣe pé ká wá kó gbogbo problem ká fẹ́ lọ kó fún Oríyọmí Hamzat tó ṣe bá a rí woman kó tó di kó lọ ta ọmọ ẹ̀ ní 600,000 kò lè rí gbogbo ẹ̀ kànẹ̀ sí gbogbo àwọn ibi tó dẹ̀ ti ń ṣe náà náà máa ti máa jẹ́ but in terms of the pé we are talking about the bigger picture of living the contraction àwọn ọba mọ̀ gbogbo tá à ń sọ ogun olóyè but ọ̀nà àwọn bá ní ọ̀ lè sọ̀rọ̀ wọ́n wà lábẹ́ politician àníkẹ́fà àwọn alálẹ̀ kẹfẹ́ pa politician ká tètè ju ibi tá à ń lọ.
What, in your view,
We're just 10 minutes after this video, we start winding down. Anyway, actually, but yes.
The vice president trying to accomplish in this trip? We always hear the generic phrase of strengthening relations, but what really is the deliverable, perhaps, the vice president wants to come back with?
Yeah, this trip is incredibly broad. You know, it builds on the African Leaders Summit that was hosted here in the United States by the president, where President Biden said we're all in Africa. So the vice president's trip is one of 5 administration officials who've traveled to the continent to really demonstrate the United States' commitment to the continent. So she'll be traveling, as you mentioned, from Ghana to Tanzania to Zambia, really talking more about how do we strengthen our economic ties and compete with China. She'll also...
Economic ties with China and Russia. It's all about that economic tie. So when Africa is that place, then why are we still poor? I mean, it makes sense. Bàbá president àbí chairman wa kẹrì gbogbo àtúbà kò ní bàjẹ́ fún ẹ. Entertainment gbogbo entertainment l'Amẹ́ríkà tẹ́ bá fi ṣe entertainment ẹ connect pẹ̀lú mi a connect yín pẹ̀lú gbogbo entertainment Ambo entertainment ẹ mo lè fún yín recommendation ẹ òwe tẹ́ bá fi gbé àwọn artist wá sí Amẹ́ríkà ẹ ó mọ̀ ń pẹ́ dáadáa àwọn kájọ ṣe abẹ́ òní ẹ. Àwọn ọ̀rọ̀ yẹn nísìn so tọ́ba gbogbo wa mọ̀ pé potential wà ní Áfíríkà kí ló dé ta sì wá pọ̀. Because nínú ẹ̀ náà ni problem tí à ń sọ yìí it's all about the problem and problem yìí kàn ṣe ni the problem has been there for years but the major obstacle is that they are not giving the indigenous people the real opportunity because àwọn born bastard tó jẹ́ Fúlàní àti Haúsá tó control government wa for years kò sí ọ̀bí ẹ̀dá kó náà fẹ́ join military Nàìjíríà tó ní mọ́ ó gbọ́dọ̀ máa wọn Haúsá kan àbí Fúlàní kan ó lè kódà tó bá mọ Yorùbá gan sẹ̀ wá ní káwọn sọ pé kò get out. Ó gbọ́dọ̀ mọ bàbá àsàlẹ̀ kan tó bá fẹ́ join navy tó bá dẹ̀jẹ̀ rọ́ọ̀dì wọn pa ẹ jẹ́ ká mọ̀ ẹ kọ́mẹ̀ntẹ̀ síbẹ̀ ó lè fẹ́ join air force Nàìjíríà ṣe fẹ́ pàtó nínú ọgbà ló ti lé bomb bastard ẹ wọ ọmọ yẹn bó ṣe pàdánù but America olólọ́lọ́ nǹkan yẹn.
We're talking about some other priorities of the administration, like Ghana and democracy in Ghana, which is the oldest democracy on the continent. She'll also be talking about the impact of Russia's war in Ukraine.
Russia. And this woman, she's been talking about it. It's all about the Russia influence. So things are changing. And I'm not telling you, so I might be known because I'm around running out of time.
Zambia is a really interesting one because of the anger there over them defaulting on the debt. We then saw a new president come in 2021, I think. And so do the Americans now see that as a route in? That there's been a backlash against China, and also obviously Zambia is quite important.
Zambia ni Kamala Harris lọ tí bèbí yẹn sọ̀rọ̀ lẹ́ẹ̀kan. Ẹ ká padà sí bíbá. Don't get lost. Ẹ ká padà ká gbọ́.
Ukraine, on the continent, food insecurity, climate resilience. So she's got a big agenda going into Africa. She's also going to be talking to innovators, women entrepreneurs, young people. So strengthening our people-to-people ties. But what I really appreciate about the vice president, she made this point during the summit, and she said, the innovation will be birthed out of Africa that will change. So
the innovation is not going to be bought from Africa. It will be bought by the indigenous people. Mistake on here. They keep saying that Africa, Zambia, they are indigenous people that have been joined together and they are having issues. So if they're saying that, yes, we have the brilliant tech people from the Igbo, the Hausa, the Fikiri, everybody in Nigeria, but the real problem is that innovation and no, Sharia so Ashimama need this back problem. And this is why we are saying to our people, I'm going to come back later on in the evening where we will discuss further, because I have to start winding down now. We need a bit of the school run. So, and the other two anyway, I go laughing shisha, because team by day in time. So, tia àsìkò bá gbà mí lálẹ́ lágbára Ọlọ́run àtúwá padà wá bá ń sọ èyí tó kù. Ìtí bó bá sọ tó bá bí ẹnu níbẹ̀ wọ́n bastard problem tí ẹni yẹn kò ṣe problem tèmi. Gbogbo ala máa jẹ breakfast January 2nd I lost somebody in Nigeria. So kò sí pé kinní kan mo sọ pé nínú accident tó kú yẹn nígbà tó máa gbé dé hospital a béèrè mobile phone ẹ̀ Mr. Koiki rí fóònù ẹ̀ níbẹ̀ kí ló dé wallet ẹ̀ àti mobile phone ẹni àtàgó I'm a bomb bastard. What the other no? But we go and see. Yoruba Nation movement is still ongoing. Ẹ má worry, àwọn tó bá ń sọ pé yẹn kò sí nǹkan tá a fẹ́ ṣe just like message tí mo kà message kan ní àárọ̀ yìí message yẹn is just as so many people receive similar message. Àwọn tó máa send the message sọnù kiri allegation kan níbí allegation kan náà dáadáa dódòdó but at the end of the day we will not stop talking. The media is a powerful tool and koikimedia mo sọ fún yín òun ló máa fún yín ní headache. Ìyẹn òbínú sáwọn ọmọ APC tó ń support APC ibi tó bá ti lè jẹ náà ni kò ti jẹ níbẹ̀ mo bínú sí PDP mo bínú sí Labour Party but nínú 8 years Buhari tẹ̀ rí ṣe ẹ̀ lè rí ṣe nínú Tinubu náà kò ń ṣe pé ẹ̀ lè rí ṣe because the problem is too mo mọ bí ẹ fẹ́ sọ òyìnbó yẹn ó ti pọ̀ jù problem Nàìjíríà ó ti pọ̀ jù gan and that is why tó bá wo sórí torí pé ó ti wà lọ́rùn bọ̀bọ́ yẹn báyìí ó fẹ́ bend on me that is the death. So we come back later on in the night. Sonke, thank you so much. Ogundere, Babawa, Moki, àtọmọdé àtàgbàlagbà, mo kí gbogbo àwọn àfà, mo kí gbogbo àwọn tó ń gbàdúrà, èmi ò ní jókòó síbi kí n sọ pé àdúrà kì í gbà. But àdúrà without action, lọ́la ń pa àlọ́ anywhere. Bí a ṣe ń bẹ Ọlọ́run lọ́tún lósì, mo sọ fún yín, bẹ́ẹ̀ bá sàpò ní wọlé, kò ń ṣe pé mo fi máa ń dẹnu, torí pé mo mọ̀ pé tí mo gbé dání, mọ̀ pé tí ọ̀pọ̀, mo ní tó bá jẹ́ mi ní ọ̀dàlẹ̀, gbogbo ohun tójú ọ̀dàlẹ̀ bá rí, kémi àti mọ̀lẹ́bí mi kájọ rí. And I told you again, tẹ́ ẹ bá mọ̀, mo tún rán mọ́mísí mi lọ sí Benin Republic, ìwọ lórí burúkú tó lè kúrò nínú. Mọ́mísí mi lọ pé táwọn bá gbọ́ pé o kúrò ní UK lásán pẹ́rẹ́, pé àwọn máa bá mi jà. And I love her too much. Mo tún gbé mọ́mísí mi dìde láti lọ wo Ìgbòho àti bàbá Akíntóyè kò ní dá fún ẹ̀yìn tẹ́jọ́ kò tẹ́ sọ pé Ìgbòho ṣe kankan. Ìwọ náà lọ wo Ìgbòho àti bàbá Akíntóyè. As I speak, mo ti rán mọ́mísí mi lọ sí Benin Republic láti lọ bá ń kí wọn lórí burúkú ọmọ àlè at least ìyá tó bí mi nìyẹn so tẹ́mi ò bá lè lọ mo ti gbé ìyá mi dìde ìwọ náà gbé rẹ dìde kó lọ kí wọn síbẹ̀ náà má pè wọn lórí fóònù lọ kí wọn síbẹ̀ so mo dúpẹ́ lọ́wọ́ gbogbo ẹlẹ́ǹkan sí a máa gbọ́ ìdán sí Ìgbòho ká tó máa lọ when I come back I play the anthem and I'm gonna check out mo kí gbogbo ẹlẹ́ǹkan sí ẹni tí ì bá dárúkọ ẹ má fi ṣègbénú gbogbo yín pátápátá ni mo kí so gbogbo yín dábàá yes you just hearing it now my mom is currently in Benin Republic ìdá fún gbogbo yín èèyàn máa ní. mo sọ pé báwo ìṣó níṣẹ́ ṣówó Yorùbá nation náà ni mo fi rán wọn lọ ìdá fún yẹn ṣí ẹ̀ mad people all over the place. mo sọ pé mi ni máa pa yín lórí media let's play ìdánsìn Ìgbòho àlàáfíà dẹ̀ ni bàbá wa wọ́n jọ jẹ̀rẹ̀ ẹsẹ̀ ọjọ́ jẹ̀bà Ìgbòho send message kan sí mi ní onímọ̀ kí màmá dáadáa o onímọ̀ tún kó ẹrù arẹpẹtẹ ẹ̀pá wa dúwànsì làwà fún ìlọ́wọ́ Ìgbòho wà. Òòṣà ìmọ́lẹ̀ Yorùbá fún rẹ̀ he send message lánàá everyday ni wọ́n send mo jẹ́ ti send message tààrọ̀ every time the most message ti máa send sí Ìgbòho happy new week sir we love you so much only thanks so much send message yẹn wá ó ní máa bá ń kí màmá ó ní màmá gbé ẹrù rẹpẹtẹ wá fóun ó ní message yẹn tẹ wà náà gbọ́dọ̀ wà náà ní báwọn kí mo sí dáadáa. Àti mẹ́sẹ̀gì ti pọ̀ jù. Ìgbòho Òòṣà ẹ fẹ́ ká máa sọ gbogbo tèmi àti ẹ̀jọ́ ń discuss lórí yóò pè. Ẹ̀rẹ̀pẹ̀rẹ̀ là ń ṣe ni ẹ̀rẹ̀pẹ̀rẹ̀ là gbé dání. Ó dákẹ́ gọ́ọ̀mẹ̀ntì gan àyà gọ́ọ̀mẹ̀ntì gan ń já. Àyà gọ́ọ̀mẹ̀ntì gan ń já. Okay. Ìfẹ́ lọ play any audio so ẹ̀jẹ̀ mi just fi sílẹ̀ bẹ́ẹ̀. So àlàáfíà ni Ìgbòho wà àlàáfíà ni bàbá Akíntóyè wà. Àlàáfíà làwọn méjèèjì wà so kò séwu rárá at least àwọn mídíà wa dẹ̀ tún bá lọ confam adúpẹ́ lọ́wọ́ gbogbo lẹ́ẹ̀kan sí à ń padà bọ̀ mo ti fi ìdánsìn Ìgbòho yẹn sí cause time mi ti ń lọ báyìí 2 minutes péré so let's quickly play ìdánsìn Ìgbòho then rewind down. Mo kí gbogbo lẹ́ẹ̀kan sí mo kí àwọn àzọ́bà tó wà pẹ̀lú mi ní ọ̀sán ẹ̀ jẹ́ kọ́mọ̀ ni tí Ìgbòho bá ṣe dáadáa gbé bàbá ẹ̀ jáde kó lọ represent wa. má bínú alarm tí mo set up ló ń dún rẹ̀ bẹ́ẹ̀ ni wọ́n lè lọ sọ ìbọn ní bọ́lá tó fẹ́ lọ bá onídọ̀tí kò níbi tó ń tán lè lọ pàdé ẹ̀ at least Ìgbòho wà níbi tí àwọn èèyàn ti lè lọ pàdé ẹ̀ bàbá Akíntóyè wà níbi tí àwọn èèyàn ti lè lọ pàdé ẹ̀ bẹ́ẹ̀ bá tẹ̀ bìlíìfù wọ́n wà níbi tí lè lọ pàdé ẹ̀ ẹ̀yin tẹ̀lé sọ pé wọ́n ṣe kankan ẹ lọ bèèrè lọ́wọ́ wọn tó bá dẹ̀ ní wọ́n ṣe kankan ẹ dẹ̀ máa padà bọ̀ ẹ̀yin ò lè lọ fíṣítì ìyá onítìrì wọ́n sì tèmi tí tẹ bá sọ bí tó wà máa ní kí wọ́n sì mi lọ síbẹ̀ kọ́ lọ bá kò níbi kankan tó ń gbé hide and seek ló kàn ń ṣe ṣùkúrú ṣẹ̀kẹ̀rẹ̀ ayé tí ń jágan nísìn tó bá ń ṣe ọ́díò gan fídíò wọn nísìn kò lè gbójú jáde mọ́ but at least wọ́n sì tèmi ṣáà tí wọ́n tún ti lọ bá ń kí Ìgbòho tẹ́bí ò bá ti nìkan wọ́n bẹ̀ mí wọ́n sì mi bẹ̀ mí lójoojúmọ́ dóòrò ọ̀gbà passport mi wà lọ́wọ́ mi wọ́n kàn bẹ̀ mí pé kí n má travel pé kí n jókòó so adúpẹ́ fọlọ́run wọ́n pẹ̀ tó bẹ́ẹ̀ Koikini so àlàáfíà ni wọ́n wà so at least tí mo sì bá dẹ̀ ti débẹ̀ tó dẹ̀ fọwọ́ kan Ìgbòho èmi náà ni mo fọwọ́ kan yẹn bàbá sálàáfíà lẹ́wà wọ́n dẹ̀ jọ ṣeré dáadáa mo dẹ̀ kí àwọn ìyàwó wọn náà ẹ kú tọ́jú bàá mi dáadáa mo kí àwọn ọmọ wọn mo kí gbogbo àwọn tó sì jẹ́ olólùfẹ́ wọn ìwọ tó ń bá ṣe olólùfẹ́ problem ti ẹ nìyẹn oye problem ti wà problem ti ẹ nìyẹn tọ́ ẹ mọ̀ pé lè dàbí Ìgbòho a máa nífẹ̀ẹ́ kú ni wàláì kò tẹ̀ tó sọ pé ẹ tún gbọ́ nǹkan tí lè díkẹ́ sọ pé ó sọ pé mo tún gbọ́ fídíò Ọmọlúkà kan lórí Yorùbá Space ṣáàrọ̀ ẹ̀ nàbánu Ìgbòho ní no going back níṣẹ́ no going back jùlẹ̀ tó sì mórí ẹ̀mẹ́ kò sẹ́ tó lè lọ kí ẹni kí Black Lion kó lọ kí ìyá mi tìrì kó ṣe fídíò kan mọ̀ mi tọ́nu. kò sẹ́ Black Lion lè travel kúrò lamẹ́ríkà kó tẹ̀ lọ sí Nàìjíríà amos ìbọn sí Benin Republic mad people all over the place. ẹ wọ àwọn èèyàn Dr. Kebi ọ̀run kò sì kò ní bàjẹ́ fún yín bàbá yẹn ti travel lọ Benin ní sí more than 5 times ó lè tó náà àwọn Yorùbá Central Office ìwọ náà lọ ìwọ ní kẹfẹ tó bá dẹ̀dọ̀ tó bá gbé ní ti lọ pé ògbé nǹkan lọ irọ́ ni kò ní ṣiṣẹ́ níbẹ̀ ìtọ́ Ìgbòho òòṣà fún rẹ̀ ẹkùn ọkọ Fúlàní ẹni tí Fúlàní rí tó sáwọ̀ gbẹ́ ẹ̀bí mi wà lé ẹ̀bí mi tẹ̀lé wọn lọ January mo sọ fún yín pé èmi lè jókòó síbẹ̀ kí n dẹnu tó pọ̀ ẹbí inú ìkọ̀kan ni gbogbo yín ti rí pé bọ̀bọ̀ yìí náà sán lórí bẹ́ẹ̀ ni èmi àti ẹ̀ lájọ wà nínú mọ́tò tójú ṣẹ̀jẹ̀ gẹ̀gẹ̀gẹ̀gẹ̀gẹ̀ àwọn mílítírì wà lọ́nà àbáwọn lọ́nà tàdé wájú àwọn mílítírì yẹn báyìí ojú bàbá ti yí padà mo ní Ìgbòho lélẹ̀ lóòótọ́ ó ṣe bó ti tó ó ṣe bó ti ẹran ti fídíò yẹn Ìgbòho òòṣà ẹjẹ lọ play fídíò inú ìgbọ̀ngàn láti capture bẹ̀ yẹn òun lélẹ̀ Ìgbòho òòṣà ó ṣe bó ti rí o Ìgbòho òòṣà ó ṣe bó ti rí ó ṣe bó ti rí o ó ṣe bó ti rí Ìgbòho òòṣà Ìgbòho òòṣà ó ṣe bó ti rí ẹ wòran òun ló wà nílẹ̀ yìí Ìgbòho òòṣà Ìgbòho òòṣà ó ṣe bó ti rí tọ́kàndù ni wàláì ó yà wọ̀ gbẹ́ni bọ̀bọ̀ èèyàn fẹ́ lọ àwọn kan ló pé Ìgbòho bọ́sọ ní ṣèlú máa débẹ̀ ẹ̀yin ò mọ èbí mi bá wọn níbẹ̀ ni Thursday ni mo dé sókà mo sọ fún yín pé mi àtẹ̀lá sùn last ó tún bí mi pé coordinator àbẹ́yìn náà mo ní mi kẹ̀ láyé àbẹ́yìn náà ń dá àtìpá ní lọ́lọ́la á máa lọ àná àwọn kan dé mo rántí láàárọ̀ àwọn yẹn ti ṣe fídíò Ìgbòho tó náà lọ ìgbọ̀ngàn lélẹ́yìí o irọ́ ló ń pa o òòṣà fún rẹ̀ ó tún mu tíì láàárọ̀ nígbà táwọn máa lè tí wọ́n mọ bẹ́ẹ̀ mi ṣe jẹ́ Ọlọ́run mi mọ́ bọ́ọ̀sì kan nígbò ó bá ń wá mi lóní coordinator ń wà ló bá lọ rí mi nínú bọ́ọ̀sì kan tó fi mí sí lára àwọn mọ́tò wọn lóní ta ló fi mí ta ló ní kí n jókòó bíbà lọ ń ṣẹ́jú sí mi gbogbo wọn ṣẹ́jú sí mi pé kí n má sọ̀rọ̀ àwọn máa lè tó rí Ìgbòho ní èèyàn kúrò ní UK ó wá bá òun nínú ilé òun ẹ wá fi sínú ẹ̀yìn ó ní coordinator sọ̀rọ̀ ta ló fi síbẹ̀ gbogbo wọn ṣẹ́jú sí mi pé kí n má sọ̀rọ̀ wọn àjọ máa jókòó síwájú ni lájọ máa lead láà dúró tì máa nífẹ̀ẹ́ kú ni mo sọ fún pé ibi tó bá lọ ni mò ń lọ wàláì ibi tó bá lọ ni mò ń lọ wọn ní kó wa lọ sínú ìgbẹ́ kó bàbá tiẹ̀ jáde kí bàbá tiẹ̀ kó wa lọ sí ìtòsí ìgbẹ́ mark people all over the place ẹjá play anthem ká máa lọ mo ń padà bọ̀ lálẹ́ lágbára Elédùmarè ó lè tọwọ́ late but a máa wá kọ́lọ̀ kó ṣọwà nígbà yẹn mo kí gbogbo ọmọ Yorùbá lẹ́ẹ̀kan sí ẹ fọkàn balẹ̀ ó ń ṣọmọ lókù bẹ́ẹ̀ ni àwa la ní sí àgbẹ̀yìn àgbà kọ́ọ̀lù kí ọ̀kan máa pè àwa la ní sí àgbẹ̀yìn àní jù bẹ́ẹ̀ lọ ẹ̀gbọ́n mi Ṣẹ́gun ọ̀nà ó dàbọ̀. orílẹ̀-èdè.
Ẹ má fojú kó eruku ata abẹ́ ń bẹ eruku ata tí o ti fojú kó àbáwọ̀ ogun Nàìjíríà.
Ọmọ Oòduà ọ̀gá Fúlàní ọ̀gá Fúlàní ọ̀gá Fúlàní ló jẹ́ o. Yorùbá nation yìí ti gbogbo wa ni kó má gbọ́dọ̀ bàjẹ́ torí kò sílùú mìíràn.
Life is so funny. You come with nothing, then fight for everything, and later leave everything and go back with empty hand. God is powerful.
Koikimedia, bringing the world closer to your doorstep. Have a very good afternoon. Bye, everyone.